On today's episode, it's BMX Johnny versus a big-ass snake. We run down the nothing movies of Robert Englund with Python as 2 months of Halloween continues on Nothing Spookies.
You wish to self-identify, and welcome back to Nothing Spookies.
Damn right.
Where we ask the question, the fuck is hiss?
Oh, because this is a snake
Because
movie.
it's a
giant snake movie.
Because it's got a snake in it.
This is the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and we choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether or not they've got a certain something or if they're just a whole lot of nothing. I'm Kaz Lasgard.
And my name's Jameson Rafter.
And Jameson, are you ready?
For what? To rumble?
Are you ready for Freddy?
Oh, you bet your ass I am.
Well, too bad, because we're not watching A Nightmare on Elm Street. But we are watching one of the many, many nothing movies of Robert Englund. It's Python from the year 2000.
Isn't it England?
No, it's Englund.
Oh, because I watched the movies that made us, and he pronounced it England.
Okay, so it's spelled Englund, but
Yeah.
it might be pronounced England.
Okay.
And we are covering this guy.
So we
He
should...
is the subject of our podcast today.
So
So
out of the gate, we're
maybe,
coming pretty strong with it.
maybe I will refer to him from this point on as Robert Englund. I don't know why that U is there. Maybe we'll find out by the end of this podcast. But it's
If you happen to know what the U is doing
If
there,
you are
let
Robert
write us
Englund,
right in.
please write in. It's so weird because this is literally the first time I've ever called him Robert Englund
Yeah.
in my life.
And
It's going to be really hard. I'm going to slip back into it throughout this entire episode.
And knowing you probably did a shit ton of research on him and like
I
his
did like
history.
the decent amount.
But the only thing you didn't check was the pronunciation.
Because it's not like it's like a hard name. It should be sounded the word the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong about that. Hey, there we go. So yeah, Robert Englund, the actor, of course, who has played Freddy Krueger since the beginning. Now I don't know if you know this, Jameson, because there's lots of boogeymen
Right.
out there. There's a lot of mask boys.
There is, yeah.
There's a lot of masky boys, and I don't know if you know. It's a little bit of trivia. A lot of these masky boys, a lot of these silent masky boys, not always played by the same actor all the way through.
Yeah, fair enough. I do know that right up until I think the third Friday the 13th movie, it was always different stunt people until they settled on the guy who's been doing him for, I think, 10
Oh,
years.
not even.
No.
I mean, like, the famous one is Kane Hodder,
Right.
but he's actually only been Jason 4 times. But
Did he start with the fourth movie?
No, his tenure was the 7th movie.
Oh, really?
The
Okay.
7th movie up until Jason X.
Right.
And it's actually kind of weird that he's the most famous Jason because the 4 Jason movies that he's in aren't terribly good. But
Okay.
he actually brought like a lot of people. He's a fan favorite Jason because he brought like a lot more aggressiveness to the role. Like there's a Kane Hodder walk. Like when you see Kane
Yeah.
Hodder play Jason, Jason is like 10 times more pissed off than he usually is in like all the rest of the movies.
Right. But anyways, we're not here to talk
We're
about
not here to
Jason
talk about
Voorhees.
Kane Hodder. Maybe one of these days. We said that we were going to cover a horror actor on 2 months of Halloween, and we're doing it with the man who has probably had the longest tenure of most boogeyman actors. He has been Freddy Krueger from 1984 all the way to 2003, unless you count the cameo that he did for the ABC sitcom The Goldbergs in 2017, 2018. I remember reading the story. That was like a somewhat big deal. Robert Englund, he's got the makeup back on. He's going to be on The Goldbergs. And I think he shows
Filling
up
in the Jeff Garland role.
yeah, for that. They needed another monster to step into that role, yeah.
Yeah, when we were talking about when our podcast shifted gears to discussing the actors and their filmography, when Halloween started coming up, I thought there's only one actor just at the top of my mind that I think we should cover, and that was Robert Englund or
Yes.
England, as we will discover.
England. Can we? Is there a way to split the difference? England.
Oh,
Can we
God,
pronounce
no.
the A and the U? No,
Oh.
that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. No, it's not. I'll do Robert Englund. It's easy enough to remember. It's a giant country where lots of people live. You'd think I'd remember that.
Yeah.
Every time I think of Robert Englund, I'll just think of the Queen lying in her casket, and that will help me remember.
Wonderful.
That.
But yeah, like this is of all like the slasher movie horror icons,
Right.
He's the actual character. He's not a silent dude in a mask. This is a charismatic, sinister boogeyman type character, and a role like that demanded an actual actor to say some lines, to interact with people. Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's one of those actors where we're going back to the icons.
And that's what we got. And, as we'll find out in his truncated biography that I'll do in a few minutes here, like you say, they needed a real actor to play Freddy Krueger. He is, in fact, a real classically trained actor who has done George Bernard Shaw and Shakespeare and stuff like that. This dude has bona fides. He's a bona fide thespian. And that really comes out in his performance as Freddy.
I absolutely can see it. I rewatched the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and the thing that almost jumped out to me immediately, and I must have taken it for granted the first time, but in just sort of delving deep into the actor himself and his choices, in all the scenes where he's stalking the kids, he has that creepy cackle, that laugh. And I think, as far back as I can remember, it's the first time I ever remember a movie monster just being so gleeful that had to have been that's an actor choice.
That's what makes Freddy stand out from a lot of the other boogeymen that he often gets lumped into, is that Freddy is someone who deeply enjoys what he does.
He loves toying with the.
He was a maniac before he turned into a scarred claw-faced monster, and he was a maniac after, and he loves it. He's there for it.
Yeah.
He relishes the ability. He loves being a monster. He loves the fact that he has come back to life and now has all of these supernatural powers. And he's on cloud 9.
Yeah, and in those movies, wonderful thing about those Nightmare on Elm Street movies is that it is, as much as they are creepy, fun slasher movies, they are also a testament to the craftsmanship of filmmaking. They have to give them creepy props. They have to do these very imaginative set pieces.
Yes.
And certainly in the first one, and especially in the third one, that is a practical prop maker's dream to work on a movie like that. Yeah,
couldn't agree with you more, because it's not, your Michaels and your Jasons, they're a very economic type of slasher.
They're chasing guys around in a house.
Exactly. Give them a knife, give them a machete, give them a chainsaw, put them in Texas. They're happy. They're not gonna they're not gonna think outside the box too much. They're gonna get the job done. Every murder that Freddy Krueger does is like an art project.
Yeah, they're so imaginative.
Yeah, it's been focus tested. He's got an entire team working with him in hell to try and come up. And and your opinions differ. There are a lot of horror fans out there, but I've always found that the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise has kind of the best ratio of good to bad movies. Halloween, in my opinion, Halloween, it has one masterpiece, and then practically every other film in the franchise is varying degrees of hot garbage. There's some people stand out for certain ones, but it's then you get the Friday the 13th, kind of all of the movies in the Friday the 13th saga are hot garbage. It starts with hot garbage, and then it just varying degrees of what, but
peaks and valleys in each of those movies.
Yeah, you watch Friday the 13th because you want to watch hot garbage, and you get what you want. And I'm not saying a lot of them are very enjoyable. Part 6, Friday the 13th, Jason Lives is one of the best Halloween movies of all time. There's really only 2 bad Freddy movies, and that's Part 5 and Part 6, Freddy's Dead. 1 through 4, pretty good. 4's not great. It kind of dips a little bit in quality, but in terms of the practical effects and just the gore and the goop that's in that movie, God, it's
just the imaginativeness.
It's so
of those
fun
movies.
to watch.
Yeah, that's what you're buying the ticket for.
And then New Nightmare is this really interesting meta-textual read on the character of Freddy Krueger and sort of his place in the horror pantheon as well. And it's this meta deconstruction of horror movies that Wes Craven made a few years before he made Scream, which was even more of that type of stuff. And then of course opinions differ on Freddy versus Jason, but it does what it says on the tin. Yeah. Freddy versus Jason. That's what's in that movie.
That's what you've been clamoring for forever now. I asked my buddies if they wanted to rewatch the Elm Street movies, and because I had seen 1 a long time ago, and I'd seen 3 because that was the really hyped up one, the Dream Warriors.
That's the fan favorite.
That's kind of silly, but also you're kind of on board for it the entire way. And when I asked them, you guys want to just like revisit all those movies? The unanimous consensus was a lot of those movies are kind of boring. They loved like the first 3 or whatever, but afterwards they didn't want to jump on that wagon.
Right.
And I was like, fair enough. It's been a while since I've seen those movies. I just remember, Freddy Krueger being an interesting bad guy.
Oh, yeah, he's always fun to watch. Yeah, 3 is the one where they kind of figure out Freddy as a pop culture icon. 1 and 2, he's still very much trying to be scary. He's still very much trying to inspire fear. 3 is the one that starts getting pretty jokey. Like, he has, like... He's got like a sign-off line every time he does a kill.
Yeah, he's got jokes.
He's got jokes. Yeah. 3 is the one where he starts getting jokes. Is where he starts getting Bruce Vilanch as his writer for things. But anyway, let's talk about the man. Let's talk about Robert Englund. Born June 6, 1947. Dude's 75 years old. He's quite. Yeah. That's why he says it all like, I can't do Freddy again. I'm too old. But it's all like, I don't know. You don't
even need the burn makeup anymore.
Yeah, you put the makeup on. That's rude. He's a pleasant looking man. Born in Glendale, California, his father John Englund was an aeronautics engineer who helped develop the Lockheed U-2 airplane.
Oh no shit.
Someone out there gives a shit about what I just said.
Bono probably does because that's what he named the band after.
Yeah, so
he's at home listening and is going, right on, bro.
That's right.
That's what Bono sounds like.
Bono has nothing better to do than to listen to our podcast. He started acting at age 12. He went to a variety of theater schools, spent 5 years doing regional theater, as I said, Shakespeare and George Bernard Shaw. His first movie is 1974's Buster and Billy, which is a drama. He's neither.
Okay.
He is neither. This is a wild fucking plot description for Buster and Billy. Reminded me a little bit of Coward of the County. It's Jan Michael Vincent stars as Buster, who starts seeing the local loose woman, Billy, who gets with all the other guys in town. And they have an actual connection and they start dating in real life, but then all the other men aren't too happy about that, and I'll give you one guess as to what happens to poor Billy.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Except add murder onto that as well.
Oh, lovely.
Billy doesn't make it out in it. So yeah.
No.
So Buster.
We've lost the town.
We've lost Billy.
No.
Buster comes back and he kills 2 of the guys and he gets sent to prison. And the movie ends with him laying flowers on Billy's grave because I guess killing 2 people doesn't mean life in prison or whatever. I don't know. I believe Robert Englund is one of the gang of ne'er-do-wells because
Let's call it that.
Even back in the day, he had that face.
Right.
Yeah, if we can get through this entire podcast without saying the R word once, that'll be a first for us, I think, maybe. Yeah. I just wanted to point out, there has to be more people on Earth currently right now that know the name Jan Michael Vincent
Beyond the Rick and Morty bit?
Because of that one Rick and Morty joke, then there are people who know Jan Michael Vincent, the actor, and who had, like, a full career and, like, the lead of a television show. And how fucking, like, existentially terrifying is that for an actor to know that one day you will be dead and the only thing that people remember of you is a joke on a cartoon where the entire joke is no one knows who you are. Yeah.
What a legacy.
What a legacy. R.I.P. John.
At least BoJack Horseman gave Margot Martindale like a recurring role.
Well, yeah, except for the fact now that like she now officially is character actress Margot Martindale. Like you can't mention Margot Martindale in a sentence without wanting to add the preface character actress. So that show was kind of a double-edged sword for her.
I mean, whatever. When I think of Carl Weathers, I think of his recurring role as himself on Arrested Development. His finest role. I don't care what anyone says about Apollo Creed.
It's a good role. It's a good actor who can successfully take the piss out of them. As I mentioned on our Mark Hamill episode in 1976, what did I say? Hamill. Mark Hamill.
We didn't do a.
I am not. You know what? It turns out I've been pronouncing everyone's name wrong on this show.
Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
it's been getting real annoying.
Jameson Rafter. I've been calling him Crandall. Anyway, 1976, he auditioned for the role of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And when he didn't get it, he suggested his good buddy Mark Hamill. I
when
almost said
Englund didn't get the role as like Skykiller.
As like Skywalker. God, what are we even doing? But yeah, I mean, imagine that. I mean, like, you couldn't even imagine because he auditioned, he didn't get get the part. He wasn't even considered for Luke Skywalker.
Right,
he just
because Mark Hamill was right there, who looked more like the farm boy archetype. Whatever. Yeah, he was right there. But it is always interesting whenever I hear of these like true Hollywood friendships that don't make sense in your head, but you're like, oh yeah, these guys are just actors. Of course they would be.
Yeah,
buddies.
they were coming up at the same time.
It's
they were all hanging out.
It's like Christopher Reeve and Robin Williams. Like it doesn't compute, and they've never worked together, but. Yeah, they probably hung out all the time.
God, can you imagine if they did work together? I can't imagine like two.
Robin Williams would have made a pretty good Toy Man, I guess.
Oh, that would have been great. That would have been like the better Superman 3, rather than shoehorning Richard Pryor in because he did
because
one.
He was Richard Pryor.
Because he did a Superman joke in his stand-up act, and then the producers were all like, "What if we built an entire movie around this?" Yeah, I can't think of two actors who are like more polar opposites in terms of like their delivery than Robin Williams and Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
who was a very stoic sort of like
leading man presence.
I'm getting my stuff out here. Maybe it was for the best that they never worked together.
Yeah.
Robert Englund, he had small roles as hoodlums in tough guy action pictures like Hustle, starring Burt Reynolds, and St. Ives, starring Charles Bronson. 1976, again, as I've mentioned before on this podcast this year, he had a small role in Stay Hungry, which was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, the early one that he did where he won the Golden Globe for Best Promising Newcomer.
Okay.
Yep. He has an uncredited role in the Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson Star is Born.
Okay.
And he's in Tobe Hooper's follow-up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Which he got his like feet wet with horror relatively early.
Which is a film called Eaten Alive. He's actually worked more with Tobe Hooper than he has with Wes Craven.
Interesting.
Yes, you would assume it would be the guy who gave him, like,
his big not his big break, but sort of like made him an icon.
His iconic role.
Right, yeah.
Now, in this film Eaten Alive, he plays a character named Buck. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, I wonder. So I went to the IMDb page for Eaten Alive, and I scrolled down, and indeed, the only quote that is attributed to the film Eaten Alive names Buck, and I'm raring to fuck.
Are you serious?
So,
shit.
I don't know if that was the first movie that came up with that, but it's just proof that screenwriters have always been gross. That is the only line attributed to that movie.
Guaranteed Tarantino saw it at least.
Oh, yeah.
We worked that line into Kill
I can
Bill.
guarantee Quentin Tarantino has rented a movie called Eaten Alive before while he was still working as a video store jockey. Yeah, I don't even need to look that up to prove that happened. 1978, he's in a cult surfing movie. Not a lot of surfing movies.
Oh yeah, that was a genre for a while.
But he's in a film called Big Wednesday, which is about three buddies who are all California surfers or whatever. They're played by William Catt, Gary Busey, and Jan Michael Vincent.
Oh,
so he remembered him. Or maybe it's a coincidence.
Is this
who knows?
you again?
Yeah. Also in 1978, he's in Blood Brothers, which is not a horror movie. It is an early Richard Gere drama about familial connections. And Richard Gere is working in a factory, and maybe he doesn't want to work in a factory, Dad. And yes,
it's one of those movies.
His dad is played by Paul Sorvino, which I must mention every time.
Right.
1981.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. God, what a rough year.
Not forgotten.
1981, he's in a cult trashster piece. This is a movie that once upon a time I think, pitched we should do. Back when we were the fuck is this? Galaxy of Terror?
Oh, no, I would not recommend that movie.
You would not recommend we do that?
No.
You've seen it, though. I remember you including it in, like, an early list of movies that are all like, maybe these?
Did I?
I don't know. I gotta scroll past back through our messages, but I'm almost certain I remember the DVD case for this. Anyway, he's in that.
Okay.
1983, his breakout role, the role that people attribute as his breakout role, actually not Freddy Krueger, but the year before the first Nightmare on Elm Street, his breakout role was on the TV series V.
Okay. I've heard of V.
Yeah, well,
and they remade that.
It was like a cult show that like lasted for like 2 seasons, and yeah, it's aliens come down. And they're all like, oh, we're sharing our technology with you. Everything's fine. But then there's secretly lizard people behind the other faces. Englund plays Willie, who is the one friendly lizard alien who wants to help the humans instead of conquering them.
Okay.
And that's really like the role that got him like noticed at first.
Okay.
And I don't know if it helped him get Freddy Krueger, but certainly it was a step in the right direction for him. And then the next year is where it all kind of starts rolling through him. He becomes an icon of horror because 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street, which we have already talked about, Wes Craven, it's a classic of cinema. It's still one of the scariest concepts
Yeah.
in all of boogeyman fandom. Just the concept of you go to sleep, someone will kill you in your dreams. Terrifying. Still terrifying to this day.
Yeah.
And it's all the more terrifying because Wes Craven based it in reality. Because like there were these cases of like these people from India who had like long-term insomnia, and then one night they fell asleep and people were like recording them. I think they might have been princes. I might be pulling this out of my ass or whatever. But like there's like a couple of recorded instances where they woke up in the middle of the night screaming, and then they just fell down and they just died. They just died in their sleep.
Yeah, they briefly mentioned that on the Movies That Made Us, and I think I believe it was Vietnam people.
Okay.
But not the soldiers. It was like the people of Vietnam.
Yes.
And they had, like, when they immigrated to the U.S., they had, like, obviously, like, their shell shock, PTSD, and they didn't have, like, the cultural avenues to expel these nightmares that they would have back home. So, yeah, a lot of them just wound up going, or having heart attacks or whatever in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like instances of
of course I'm getting those details wrong, and I'm like vaguely recalling this, but it is
vaguely recalling things is kind of what we do on this podcast.
I do. I write this stuff down like about the movies just so I don't forget. But yes, I do vaguely remember being that like Nightmare on Elm Street is essentially based on a real thing with like, okay, a boogeyman twist to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the very next year, they rushed a sequel in development, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, a.k.a. The Secret Gay One.
Oh, there's nothing secret about that one.
No, that is... Whew.
Yeah.
That is fun. There's also an excellent documentary about the main actor of that one, who he himself was a closeted gay man, and yeah, it's like nothing was...
They snuck that by a lot
nothing
of
was
producers.
inherently like gay in like the screenplay, but like, I don't know, watch it for yourself and make up your own mind.
Watch that movie keeping in mind like, okay, so they snuck in a lot of gay subtext.
They sure did.
Yeah.
And
I
not
think
only
that, like, of all the Elm Street movies, that one is so universally, like, kind of panned that that's the free one on YouTube.
Is it?
I
don't
so,
know.
Yeah.
I have that one on VHS. And I think there's some interesting stuff in Nightmare 2, but it is the kind of the black sheep of the family because, again, 3 is where they kind of figured out who Freddy Krueger was, and 2 is kind of like this middle ground where they still hadn't quite figured out his whole deal yet.
Yeah.
And it plays around with like the rules of like how Freddy can come in and out of the world and stuff.
Right, yeah, because that was always a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, they really rushed that one into development, and Wes Craven was not involved in it at all. He didn't want to do a sequel. He was moved on to other things.
Right, but he came back for
He came back for 3.
And that's when they realized, like, no, the real appeal of this is, like, the fantastical dream worlds in those settings. So let's go back to the well on that.
And also, can we get jokes?
Yeah.
Yeah. In 1986, he's in a movie that was covered on How Did This Get Made called Never Too Young to Die, which is this wild, insane sort of like spy caper with a crazy cast. It's got John Stamos.
Oh, I've seen that.
Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
George Lazenby.
I've seen that.
It's wild. Vanity.
Vanity.
Yeah.
Divine.
That would be a great movie. Oh man, I would have loved to have seen John Stamos and Divine together in a project.
Wasn't Gene Simmons meant to be like a cross-dresser in that?
Was he?
There was a lot of controversy. Like they just did not do it right. But that movie
it's
movie's
from
hilarious
1986, so it's probably not respectful in that sense. 87, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. 88, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, directed by Rennie Harlan. Why
does that ring a bell?
Of Cliffhanger.
Okay.
And other action movies. Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
Nightmare 3, I forgot to mention, is directed by Chuck Russell, who would go on to direct Jim Carrey's The Mask and Arnold's Eraser. He also did the great remake of The Blob, which is a fantastic, one of the best horror remakes of all time.
Yeah.
Really great. 89 is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which is one of the worst ones. And if not the worst one, I think Nightmare 5 is like the most creatively bankrupt out of all of them. Nightmare 6 is terrible, but it's kind of like entertaining.
All right.
We'll get to that. But also in 1989, he double dipped because 1989, he also this was sort of like the biggest sort of dice roll in terms of like, let's make Robert Englund the name above the marquee. I just said Englund again. Let's make Robert Englund the name above the marquee. Let's give him like a prestigious like horror role to play that he can do alongside Freddy Krueger. So in 1989 is also the year that he did his version of the Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
which is like a super gory Phantom of the Opera.
Really?
And the way that they marketed it is almost like, if you look at the posters of Phantom of the Opera, it's not really saying Robert Englund is the Phantom of the Opera. A lot of them say Freddy Krueger is the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was like a weird marketing thing that they tried out and it didn't work. I would have loved to have done Robert Englund's Phantom of the Opera on this show. It's not streaming anywhere. I gotta find a DVD of it.
Mhm.
So if anyone listening wants to send me a copy of Phantom of the Opera 1989, send it my way. Put it in the post.
Did you check the Vancouver Public Library?
Yep, not there.
Ah, damn.
Not there.
Not on Tubi, not on YouTube.
Not on Tubi.
Damn.
Yeah, man. Oh, God.
Man.
Also, from 88 to 90, he was the host of Freddy's Nightmares.
Yeah,
which,
so what
which
was
ran
that?
for 44 episodes.
Was that like a Tales from the Crypt
Yeah,
kind of thing?
it's like
Okay.
it's exactly that. It's just like
he was a horror host.
he was a horror host. He's all like, oh, I love invading nightmares, but hey, maybe this is a nightmare. Why don't you come and check this out?
Right.
Whoa, wasn't that? It was literally. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming it was just a ripoff of Tales from the Crypt. And I believe there were a couple of episodes that actually were Freddy. I believe there's one particular episode of Freddy's Nightmares that is a prequel episode to the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's England out of the makeup, and it's like, what was Freddy up to before he got all burned and
murdering
everything?
kids.
Yeah, so they did that. They did it on network TV,
Oh, okay.
prime time, so they can't get like too graphic or whatever,
Right.
but that does exist, and it ran for 44 episodes, so it's
Oh.
worth mentioning
Okay.
within, the Freddy Krueger conversation, because like that he played. He was in every episode.
All right.
Maybe just like 2 minutes from like the beginning
Sure.
or
yeah.
whatever.
I imagine with all the makeup, they probably shot all like the bookends to those episodes, like kind of
Yeah.
like over the course of like maybe 2
Either
or 3 days.
that, or he's in silhouette for all of them.
Mm.
Maybe that's a thing.
Or
maybe,
they go
maybe,
cheap on the makeup.
Maybe he wasn't even there. Maybe they just got him to like pre-record a thing, and it's just some schmo with a glove on his hand going all like, check this nightmare out. It's a scream.
It's a still photo of him, and they do like the clutch cargo mouth thing.
Oh my god. I mean, that would be more terrifying. How do you make Freddy Krueger more terrifying? Do that shit. 1990, he is a villain in the Andrew Dice Clay vehicle, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
All right.
I don't know if you ever saw that. He's like a rock and roll detective.
No. But
Wayne Newton, I think, is the villain. Gilbert Gottfried is also in it. I think Priscilla Presley. I might be thinking of Naked Gun, but he's in that.
Okay.
Because that was also directed by Rennie Harlan, so he works with the same people.
I see.
1991, he is in Nightmare Part 6, which of course was called Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, and that did not stick.
Yeah.
That one was directed by Rachel Talalay, who also directed Tank Girl, and is now a professor at UBC.
Oh,
here
no
in
way.
Vancouver. Yeah, the director of Freddy's Dead.
Is she like teaching film history?
I
or
think she's teaching
filmmaking
film history.
course?
I think she also works in like television, so it's
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, that's the one that was 3D, and it's also the one that ups the jokes like 100%.
To the point where it's like, this is getting annoying.
It's practically a comedy.
Mhm.
There's cameos from Tom Arnold and Roseanne. Alice Cooper plays his dad. It's lots of yucks, but like they wanted to stop Freddy. They wanted to end the franchise, so they said like definitively, all right, this is it.
We're going
And
going
he-
all in on
Yep,
this.
and I think they feed him a stick of dynamite, and he blows up at the
Yeah.
end, and everyone's all like, "That's it, no more Freddy." And
Yeah.
that lasted for exactly 2 years. But in those 2 years, this is interesting because this is England saying, "All right, well, I've left Freddy behind. He was like my bread and butter for a while. Now let's see what kind of like films I can make." So in that interim, 1992, he makes a film called Dance Macabre.
Oh, that's the name of a ghost song.
Yeah, it's also the name of a Stephen King book.
Ah,
But he plays a Russian dance instructor with a split female personality who is a serial killer.
okay.
Sounds familiar.
Mm.
Also, probably not very progressive or...
I mean, if you wanted an acting role to stretch his wings a little bit,
Again,
there you go.
this sounds like an interesting movie that I wish was streaming.
Yeah.
We could have watched it. 1993, he's back with Tobe Hooper for a film called Night Terrors, where he plays the Marquis de Sade.
Okay.
So-
like the disciple of Darkseid? Just say yes and we'll move on.
Do you know that I am familiar with the DC character of de Sade, and I have never put together that it's a play on the Marquis de Sade,
Mm.
because he's all about like Doxy, let's torture the prisoner.
Yeah.
That's what. Thank you, Jameson. I've learned something today.
Oh, there you go. That's what I'm here for.
Yes. So yes, Robert Englund played de Sade, and Kane Hodder played
Gotcha.
Darkseid. 1994, he's back with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, as I said before, which is. Have you seen that one?
No, but I've heard that's a super meta one.
So the plot of New Nightmare is Heather Langenkamp, the actress from Nightmare 1 and 3, is playing herself.
Okay.
And Wes Craven is also playing himself, and Robert Englund is also playing himself, and they're making like a new movie, and she is having like nightmares with Freddy, but Freddy's like different. Freddy looks a little bit different, and she goes to Wes Craven, and Wes Craven says, yeah, Freddy was based on like this actual demon from like these texts and everything, but now that we've stopped making the movies, now that Freddy's dead, the demon's getting angry, and the demon's coming back. And
so the film the movies themselves were like a sacrifice to satiate the demon?
And every time they made a movie, it like quelled the demon, but now that they're not making movies anymore, the demon's coming out into the real world.
Interesting.
It's a fascinating but flawed movie. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it is a really interesting risk that they took.
Yeah, on the one hand, it seems kind of masturbatory. Oh, yes, these classic slasher movies that we made, it's all real, and it's all really dangerous, and we're, us famous people who are a part of it, like, we're now at great risk. I imagine the scene where Robert Englund meets up with Freddy Krueger is interesting.
It does not happen.
What the fuck?
He is in it. There's like a scene where I think it's implied that Robert Englund, the character, is also having nightmares, because there's a scene where he's like talking to Heather Langenkamp over the phone, and he's painting, and then like at the end of the scene, the camera whips around, and he's painted like a horrifying like Freddy photo, but then he like exits the movie, like he takes like a vacation, and he's not in the movie anymore. Yeah. So by the time Freddy comes back,
that was like a walk-on cameo.
Robert's out of the movie. Yeah.
All right.
It's interesting.
He was buying a car.
It's worth a while. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he had to get in the makeup. He had to get in the damn Freddy makeup because he had other shit he had to do. Also in 1994, this is wild.
Okay.
Out of all of the research that I did on the career of Robert Englund, this is the thing last night that I did not expect to find out. This is the wildest credit on his filmography.
Go on.
And he has done a lot. Apparently, in 1994, and this is backed up by both IMDb and Wikipedia, he is credited as one of the backup vocalists for Elton John's Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
No fucking way.
Along with Rick Astley.
Holy shit! Rick rolling all of society. What the hell?
How fucking random is that?
That is such a grab bag of
what an odd
famous
fucking thing.
People and
so
like,
I guess
touchstones.
maybe because he's credited in the music video.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just his voice. Maybe there's like a shot of them in the recording studio or whatever. But like, yeah, that part of
We Are the World. What the fuck is this?
You've heard obviously Elton John's version of that song before, because there's the thing where everyone comes like bada bada wada way. Freddy Krueger's one of them. Freddy Krueger's one of the
bada bada way guys.
He's one of the wada wada wow. I don't know. That's fucking weird.
That's
but yeah,
insane.
apparently
Wow.
that's him. Apparently he's in that, and Rick Astley is also there.
I'm gonna go home and listen to that song and see if I can pick him out.
Some weird shit. 1995, once again, back with Tobe Hooper for Stephen King's The Mangler, which is not a movie I've ever seen, but it sounds crazy. I would love to watch it one of these days.
Okay, all right.
Which, of course, if you don't know, is a movie about a haunted laundry pressing machine.
Oh, I had no idea. That's insane. I love it.
That's what it's about. But like, you know,
Mangler. That sounds like a pro wrestler.
Like a big, I'm sure it has been, but like a big industrial one, like not like a small one. Is all like it's like a giant machine that's like you get sucked into it. And you
otherwise,
get,
it's not scary.
Yeah, you turn into a pancake or whatever. 1997, he has a small role in an excellent horror movie that I love watching almost every year, Wishmaster.
Oh yeah.
That movie is good.
All right.
That movie gets like insane in the first 5 minutes.
Lovely.
And then it just goes up from that. Man, you gotta watch.
I've never seen.
Watch
it.
Wishmaster this year. Avoid all the sequels, but the first Wishmaster is great, and it's a they tried really hard to birth a new Freddy Krueger into existence.
Okay.
With the Djinn. Who is a great performance from Andrew Divoff. He's a fascinating little monster, but it did very much feel like they were trying to set something up, because Englund is in it, but so is Kane Hodder and so is Tony Todd. So
Oh, no way!
They're trying very hard to, like, give this movie some bona fides.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work, but, like, man, if you ever watch Wishmaster, go watch Wishmaster. I love that movie. That movie's insane.
Oh, interesting.
That movie's so much fun.
Okay, all right.
1998 was a big year for him. He continued popping up in. This is the point in time in his career where he's just all like, I'll do cameo. If you got a horror thing, I'll do like cameos in this. He's in Urban Legend, which is that lame Scream ripoff.
Right.
He's in Strangeland, which is a horror movie written by Twisted Sisters Dee Snider.
Okay.
And of course, most horrifying of all in 1998, he did Meet the Deedles.
What is the what?
Meet the Deedles?
Yeah.
With it was like a Bill and Ted ripoff. Paul Walker is in it. They're surfers. They got like their poster is them with fucking like wave hair.
All right.
You don't remember Meet the Deedles?
No.
You never met them?
No, I'm not familiar with these Deedles.
All right. Well, you know what? Consider yourself lucky.
All right, great.
You're living in the world most of us wish that we left it. We
Cool.
lived in. Jameson.
I'm going to enjoy this time of my life now because now it's too late for me to go back.
And then, and then the rest of it, like, and then look, from this point on, this is where his filmography gets crazy. So I'm just gonna cherry pick through here, right to the end, because we would be here for hours if I covered everything that he did. 2003, of course, he's in Freddy vs. Jason. 2005, he is with Tobe Hooper for the last time for an episode of Masters of Horror, which we talked about last time. He's in a Tobe Hooper episode of that called Dance of the Dead.
Okay.
Right, I think he's playing like a music hall impresario. 2006, he's in two really interesting, unheralded, independent horror movies. He's in Hatchet, which is another attempt to create sort of like a legacy slasher character. This one, they actually got Kane Hodder to play I believe his name is Victor Creel or something like that. I almost said the name of Sabretooth. But
I was gonna say that's Sabretooth.
Something like that, but like something, I don't know. He's like a deformed hillbilly, and he has a hatchet, and he goes around and he kills people. And Robert Englund's in that. So is Tony Todd. That's another combination of let's get all of like the old guard back for this and try to make a new boogeyman, and it didn't work.
Right.
So he's done that twice now with Wishmaster and Hatchet. Did get 3 sequels.
Yeah.
So some people
You've already
like
made
it.
one iconic horror character. Like. Just be happy with
No,
that.
we need more.
All right.
We need more. He's also in a really interesting little slasher called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is a movie I would recommend anyone check out. It is a slasher mockumentary from the perspective of the killer.
So it kind of predates like What We Do in the Shadows as like
a little bit What We Do in the Shadows. It's kind of a playoff of there's a famous French movie called Man Bites Dog, which is also about a serial killer who has a documentary crew follow him around. That's what this is doing, but it's doing it with slashers, and it takes place in a world where Freddy, Michael, and Jason are actual things, and this guy is like a fan of them. And he's trying to like emulate them and stuff. Really interesting little film. England only has like a small little role. That is 2006.
Okay,
yeah. Another interesting film he's in 2006 is Red. This is a movie that when I describe it is going to sound exactly like John Wick because it's about a guy whose dog is killed by a bunch of shitty teenagers and he goes on a roaring rampage of revenge. Except instead of Keanu Reeves, we have the awesome Brian Cox. From Succession.
Yeah.
And I love a good lead role for Brian Cox.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's just going around, he's just giving all this gravitas. And I remember I rented that because I saw that Robert Englund was in the credits, and he, I believe, plays the shitty... Him and Amanda Plummer play the shitty parents of one of the shitty teenagers.
Okay.
And he just has a couple of scenes, but it's the rare instance I remember where Robert Englund's just playing a dude.
Okay.
And he just comes out. He's maybe like a little bit of a hillbilly, but I just remember it's all like that's neat. That's a neat little role for him.
Okay, cool.
But like I'll always recommend any Brian Cox performance, especially when he's in the lead.
Right.
He is in. I mean, like, look, here's where we talk about this guy's diversity and his ability to tackle any genre, Jameson, because not only is he in 2012's Strippers vs. Werewolves, he's also in 2008's Zombie Strippers.
Right.
So he can play anything.
He visited the clubs a lot, is what you're saying.
He can do anything. If there's strippers in your movie, he's there. If there's zombies, he's there. If there's werewolves, he's there. 2012, he's in Lake Placid, The Final Chapter.
Right.
Another movie that didn't hold any water because in 2015, he's also in Lake Placid versus Anaconda.
Right. As the same character?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and then most recently, this year for Netflix, he appears as himself in the Netflix horror movie Choose or Die, and he's also in an episode of Stranger Things.
Yep.
So he's running that Netflix thing, and then the stuff that I'm not going to mention are all of the Nothing movies he's in that all just went straight to Sci-Fi Channel or DVD.
Probably a lot of that. Probably a lot of like low budget horror filmmakers are like, can we get Robert Englund? Because I'm a huge fan. I'd love to. We can give him like an evil doctor role or something like that, or a bad businessman. I kept thinking that you were going to bring up he was the bad guy in a kids movie, or he was the bad guy in an animated movie.
Oh, he's in that too.
Because I figure like that seems like where he would just naturally go to.
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that. I'm just remembering now. When I was a kid, there was a Disney Channel original movie. I think it was called the Paper Chase. No, the Paper Brigade.
Okay.
And he was like
that's much dumber.
he was like Old Man Jenkins.
Okay.
Or something. And I remember because even back then I was an IMDb rat. And I remember seeing them like, wait, Robert Englund is in a Disney Channel movie?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the villain in that, but he's definitely in that.
Yeah.
The other thing it's worth mentioning, he also does a lot of voiceover roles.
Yes.
Primarily, he does a lot of supervillain roles for both DC and Marvel. He was Felix Faust in the Justice League cartoon. He was the Riddler in The Batman.
Right.
Not the Robert Pattinson Batman, obviously, but the cartoon The Batman. He's the Vulture in Spectacular Spider-Man.
Okay.
He's Dormammu in the Superhero Squad. And most appropriately, I think this is brilliant casting, in Injustice 2, the video game, he's the Scarecrow.
Oh yeah.
How perfect casting is that?
That's wonderful.
You
Knocking
get
that one out of the park.
Nightmare of Dreamland
Yeah.
to play the Nightmare character.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect fucking thing. I don't know how big his role is in that, because obviously he's...
Well, it's a fighting game, so it's
a fighting game.
It's
He
a
has
lot
to
of
record.
grunts. It's a lot of like trash talking at the start of fights or after fights. I think those games have like some robust cinematics. Too.
But bring him back. That's great. Like if you're
that's
doing
one of those things where like a lot of the people sitting around like the writer's table are like, duh.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck were we doing not casting him as that before?
But there we go. He's played Scarecrow and Riddler.
Oh, good.
So he's got his Batman bona fides.
He's more of a Scarecrow guy than a Riddler guy.
He definitely is. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it. That's the man's filmography. Most of it, anyway. So yeah, do you want to go drain the snake? I just kidding. That was off the dome. That was off the top of the dome.
I forgot we're talking about a giant snake.
We're talking about a giant. We're gonna turn the page and we're gonna.
I'll go drain my giant snake.
It's all snake talk from here on out, folks. All right.
Stay tuned.
Don't. Oh my god. That's a nightmare for people listening to us.
Oh, yeah.
Just go. All right.
Last month, the governors of Florida and Texas engaged in a political stunt wherein they transported dozens of legal asylum seekers across state lines to Martha's Vineyard. Lured onto planes under false pretenses, these legally protected people were left completely stranded upon arrival, and with no warning given to the local governments and agencies of this influx. This was just one instance of a broader pattern of Republican officials sending thousands of asylum seekers to predominantly Democratic voting areas, unannounced and unaccounted for. No two ways about it, this was a kidnapping, and done solely to upturn the destination towns in the hopes of bottlenecking their resources and angering the citizenry. But more than that, it is a despicable gesture using human beings as political pawns this way. These refugees, already dealing with fleeing their homelands for new opportunity, had gone through the proper legal channels to gain asylum and citizenship, waiting for the next phase of their lives to begin. And yet here they were deceived and unceremoniously brought far away from their point of origin with the promises of job training, housing, and more at the destination where no such offers or opportunities actually existed. Fortunately, the people of these destination towns greeted these refugees with open arms and compassion, finding them lodging, food, clothes, and offering free legal assistance and other humanitarian needs until the dust settles. It is a testament to community and human decency that when greeted with something so unexpected and inhumane, it is met with compassion. It is also a reminder that refugees have suffered and sacrificed so much just to arrive in their new homes, and that their hardships are a direct contrast to the privilege and opportunities of the people who are not in their shoes. So for today's charity, I would like to put forward the International Rescue Committee and Save the Children, which deliver life-saving services and aid to refugees and asylum seekers in humanitarian crises. They provide educational resources, healthcare, and social and legal support to refugees from diverse backgrounds. They also assist refugees with assimilation into their new communities by offering language courses and education and employment support. To make a donation to either of these programs, please visit their websites at rescue.org and savethechildren.org. Again, those websites are rescue.org and savethechildren.org.
And we're back!
Yes, we are.
So Python, from the year 2000, is directed by Richard Klabog. This is my episode for
Gesundheit.
This is my episode for not knowing how to pronounce people's names. How would you pronounce this name?
Klaba.
Klabog?
Klaba.
Clabaugh.
Yeah.
Klabog!
Klaba.
Richard Klabog!
From the planet Klingon.
Exactly. It is a very Klingon sounding name. It sounds like a Klingon weapon, yeah. He's primarily a cinematographer. He DP'd a lot of other horror movies. He shot the first 2 films in the Prophecy series. Have you ever seen The Prophecy?
No.
That's a fun little horror movie. Christopher Walken plays, I believe, the Archangel Gabriel, and he wants the world to end. He wants the apocalypse to happen. Jan Viggo Mortensen plays Lucifer. It's a fun time.
Okay.
I think they're like raising zombies or something or other. He also was the DP on Jason Mewes' favorite Ben Affleck performance, Phantoms.
Oh, he was the bomb in that.
He was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
Yeah.
He shot that. Quick sidebar, because we were talking about this. I saw Clerks 3 last night.
Yeah.
I don't want to get off on like too much of a tangent here, but because I know you've seen the movie, I really wanted to ask someone this question.
Yeah.
What was up with Jason Mewes' teeth in that movie?
Oh, I didn't really notice him.
Did you not notice that?
Jay is so...
He's got white ass fucking teeth in that movie, and all of his dialogue is very teeth forward. And the entire time I'm just like, did he have dental surgery?
Maybe.
Or
I didn't
are they
notice
fake teeth or something? Or...
I didn't really notice that because Jay has very little screen time in that.
Yeah, but what screen time he does, I don't know. But
I don't know.
like,
I didn't pick up on that.
I don't know. Because he's like, because he also, like, you know, famously is a famous recovering heroin addict, but like, I don't remember much, so maybe he messed up his old teeth. I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, Clerks 3 sidebar over.
All right.
Good movie.
Yeah, I liked it.
Weird teeth. But yeah, so he's mainly a cinematographer. He's only directed one other movie, but it's worth mentioning because that one other movie is called Iborgs. I mean, that's all you need.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Ooh.
Fucking Iborgs. Is there anyone in Iborgs worth mentioning? Adrian Paul. Oh, Danny Trejo's in Iborgs.
Ah, poor guy.
There we go. Anyway, that's all the background I have on that. The Python was produced and co-written by famed American author Philip Roth, who brought us such literary classics as Portnoy's Complaint and American Pastoral and The Human Stain, and I thought to myself, why is he associated with a big snake movie? And then I looked it up on IMDb, and of course it's Philip J. Roth. You have to look. You have to look for that errant J.
I see.
You gotta look it up. But
that's how he secured the finance.
But
he just took an eraser or a thumb and he covered up the J.
In the opening credits of Python, it's just Philip Roth. Which is what made me look it up in the first place. They're like, that can't be Philip Roth. That can't be the author of. Oh God, I used all of my Philip Roth. No, I can't think of a fourth. I can't think of a fourth book he wrote. Yeah. Fuck, I don't know.
But that's how he would like sucker someone like Bill Murray for to joining his movie.
Yes,
he's
the Dying Gaul. There we go.
For that
anyway, but yeah, and then it aired on Sci-Fi Network in 2000, and this movie, Jameson, has got a cast.
Yes,
the cast of this movie is wild. It ranges from like people you've heard of and to faces you recognize and you don't quite know where they are from.
And also features an actor that like only you and I would give a shit about because we covered them in a movie.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. This movie has 3 actors from movies that we've covered before, and then many others of them. So I'm just gonna let you know now, Jameson, this is gonna be one of those episodes that you find increasingly aggravating because it's the type of episode where I'm going to
Run long.
interrupt your plot synopsis to point out which actor is who and where we know
Sure.
them from, and I'm just going to warn you right now, that is going to begin with the opening scene. So, but yeah, like I kept going through like the cast list of this. I'm all like, wait, they're in this?
Yeah.
Wait, him? It's wild. It's fucking crazy. So like, let's just get into it. Let's run down. Let's run down Python.
All right, Python, brought to you by the letter K.
Yes. Okay, that's the first thing we should mention. Is
This is not a fair criticism of the movie. This is just like the result of whoever decided to upload this to YouTube. They have a watermark K in the middle of the screen for the entire movie. So I'm going to try to gather some screenshots from a different source. But if not, just a heads up, people, the letter K is featured prominently in every scene.
Can I just say...
To the point where, like, when the movie title comes up, it goes, PythCon.
I'm just saying, as a K-named person, I was into it. I was into it the entire time.
Really
It's all like,
invested in
yeah,
it. Yeah,
like
this
that
is-
letter.
This is speaking
I'm
to
a
me.
fan. But we do watch a lot of these movies on YouTube, and we are at the mercy of whoever has uploaded them. Hey, at least this one was all in the same movie file.
Yeah, it wasn't like Hunter Tyler the Huntress got on film. Check out our episode on Longshot to catch that joke, folks.
We really don't reference Hunter Tylo, the Huntress Colin Cameron,
Enough.
nearly enough. It should really be our sign-off.
So Python opens with two guys in a cargo plane flying a giant crate.
Now,
over.
Jameson!
Yes. Well, can I just
Yes, please
just to
finish.
paint-
I'm
just to
sorry,
paint
I'm
the
sorry,
scene.
I'm sorry,
It's
please
two
finish.
guys in a cargo plane, one guy in the cockpit that we never actually see the full cockpit, so it was just like a guy in front of a hanging rug holding a control stick in his hand, and the other guy in the plane who does not join him in the cockpit. He's kind of relegated to sitting in the cargo
they are
hold.
two different sets.
And
Yes,
he says, hey, something's knocking around in there. So the pilot says, yeah, we'll open it up and check it in there. You know, defeating the purpose of it being a cargo plane. And wouldn't you know it, they're shipping a giant snake.
wouldn't you know it? It's a python.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Who crashes the plane?
Who
when he
would have
gets
thought?
loose. Yeah.
And the pilot even says, is all like, well, it's top secret, but I give you permission. Go ahead, open it.
They're never going to hire these two, like, amateur cargo shippers again.
Well, they're not, because the python eats them.
Yeah.
So,
well, he eats the guy in the back. I think, like, the pilot just, like, on his own volition decides to crash the plane.
Well,
because you never see the snake attack him.
they do mention later on in the movie that they said they found no bodies,
Right.
human or snake.
But speaking of these guys, what did you want to talk about?
Okay, so the pilot is played by veteran character actor Ed Lauter. God, I can't pronounce any last
you are
name
off
today.
your game today.
Ed Lauter. He's one of these guys who, even though he never had like a role, like a signature role of his own, he was just one of these like deeply, deeply well-respected character actors who just kind of popped up in everything. He's in True Romance, he's in Talladega Nights, Not Another Teen Movie, Leaving Las Vegas, The Longest Yard, Born on the 4th of July, Cujo, The Rocketeer, Seabiscuit. He's Jean Dujardin's butler in The Artist. So
Okay.
he was in an Oscar-winning movie. He plays the pilot, and the co-pilot is played by Mark McClure, better known as Jimmy Olsen
in the
from
original-
Richard Donner's Superman
Oh,
movies.
wow. Huh.
Yes, and also to a lesser extent, Marty McFly's brother in the Back to the Future movies, who's really not a character at all.
No, you forget that he has a brother. It's
yes.
just one of those characters that fades away in the picture.
Well, I mean, literally, he
Yeah.
fades away in the
He
picture,
fades-
and he fades away in the picture.
Yeah.
But this is the level of like celebrity that we're working with here. Oh, these guys,
Yeah.
who are just like these two pilots in the thing. They could have given these roles to anyone.
Yeah.
They didn't have to hire Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Python did not need to go that hard in its opening 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it did, and I guess Mark McClure was happy for the day. He
guess
made
so.
himself a big Dagwood sandwich out of Crafty. And I'm taking this back to my trailer. And then the production assistant is all like, "Do you want to tell him we don't have budget for a trailer?" And then Mark McClure just went into a porta potty with his sound. Stop me!
Okay, yeah. So the plane crashes into the mountains, and it disrupts a lesbian couple's camping trip where it eats the two ladies. Fresh in my mind, in our last episode, we talked a lot about the Bechtel test.
The Bechdel test, yeah.
Now you got me doing it. Talking about
Which
the
is also
Bechtel
a
test.
last name, Alison Bechdel. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's our theme. We
Yeah.
can't pronounce
So-
last names today.
So here I'm thinking like, oh great, lesbian couple. There's no way they're going to be talking about a dude. And
They exclusively talk about the dudes that
because like
she's fucked.
the one lady fucks up her partner's name. Instead of calling her Roberta, she calls her Robert. So
Because she's bisexual, so she also dates men. Yeah.
Right.
And that's a point of contention between them. It's all like, you're not seeing other men. No, so like, you can see other men, but like, you're not seeing other women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's all like, no, only you, baby.
Yeah. I did like this one setup where the partner goes to have a leak in the woods, and she sees where her partner has taken a previous conquest to the spot because
this is her spot.
Yeah, this is her spot because she's carved like John Hart's Lisa or whatever into a tree, and that does come back, and I appreciated that. But yeah, the snake eats the two ladies.
Yes, and just as a little red herring or red viper, perhaps, just as an amazing coincidence, one of these ladies happens to also have a pet python of her own, a regular-sized pet python,
who she brought on a camping trip.
That's just hanging out with them, and it's just like the great irony of God that her fate is that she be devoured by a giant, chemically altered, acid-spitting python.
Yeah.
She just happens to have a python with her. The other,
like, don't leave home without it.
I mean, like, the other lady, because she says, oh, like, I can't leave him alone, I gotta bring him everywhere, which is just, this is the public service announcement here. Don't date snake people. Because they gotta bring their snake everywhere you go. Look, if you do date a snake person, make sure you're a snake person.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
The two worlds don't mesh.
Yeah. Her partner is not a snake person.
Her partner is not a snake person at all. Yeah. I'm trying to decide whether or not it's progressive, whether or not the opening kill in this movie is a lesbian couple. For
the year 2000, let's just say yes.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Because they're not around long enough to say anything like offensive. Like they get killed before one of them could start talking about Melissa Etheridge or something like that. So it's like, it's, I guess for the year 2000, this is good.
They're not the first people to die.
No, they're the first person. Actually, they're not. No, Jimmy Olsen is the first person to die. Yeah, that's true.
Because the snake on the plane.
The snake is on the plane, Jameson.
Was on the plane. Now it's loose in the California countryside.
Is this California? I don't know. It's probably Bulgaria because it's a sci-fi original movie. So that's where they got their tax incentives.
Right.
And then we get some fucking extreme fucking sports over extreme credits.
As we're introduced to what's his name, Johnny.
Yeah, the most atypical protagonist name you can get. But he's an extreme sports BMX bro.
As he's cycling through town,
and his credits are this reject from the Tony Hawk 2 soundtrack.
Oh God! And all the diegetic music suck in this movie.
And the font is like a fucking ocean, not ocean spray. What are the fucking bags of juice called?
Capri Sun.
Capri Sun thing. Yeah, it's very 1999.
It's red as fuck.
It is. Yes, John is our protagonist here. He is played by an actor named Frayne Rossinoff, who has not gone on to do anything. He has very few credits on his IMDb. Do you know what one of those credits is, though, Jameson?
This movie.
It's funny because you brought it up without me referencing it. One of his credits is Launch Shot. So check out previous episode as
the poor guy.
as friend number one.
Oh,
so at least he's got that going for him. At least he's the number one friend.
What the fuck is this alumni event movie?
I have no idea, but hey, it's bound to happen eventually. Watch enough of these movies. Eventually, we get the Rosetta Stone of the movies that we watch here.
It's like we get popular enough that we start holding cons and we start bringing back some of the actors.
Oh man, that would be great. I would love to talk to one of the actors who's been in a movie that we've covered.
Just be like, what the fuck?
Great.
What was that like?
Anyway, John and his brother run an acid factory.
they run something, some kind of.
It's a plating business.
Companies that.
Do you have any idea what that is?
No, it's some kind of refinery. Yeah. And they're one of 4 people that run it. His brother is the guy who he runs the books. He's sort of the big foreman on the job. And John never really wanted to be a part of this, but they took over their dad's business. Yeah. And I guess it's got to be a dangerous place to work because their opening argument is the brother shuts the big warehouse door and he says no, that's our only means of ventilation, and he's like, no, this is going to get us in trouble with the OSHA people because we're spewing hazardous chemicals. And I'm like, well, allowing your workers to suffocate in this hazardous material is also going to get you shut the fuck down. But whatever, which is evidenced by the 2 other employees who work with them who are Beavis and Butthead.
Who are just like hitting each other with like pipe. There's like a one funny moment when John and his brother are in the office and they're talking, and you can just see the guys in the background just doing shtick.
Yeah.
And it is kind of funny because they're not the focus of the scene at all. You can tell it's just these two guys just improvising.
Yeah.
And it is kind of funny. One of these guys is former child actor Keith Coogan, who you may remember from such films as Adventures in Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. He had a big babysitter kick there for a while.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's playing one of these dummies. I think he has like 3 lines. Again, this movie's it's got a weird cast.
Yeah, imagine the casting call for this, and you're expecting to have like all these young junior actors coming through, and then like, oh, we got some names signing up for this.
Not like names, but like names.
You're like, yeah,
like, some names.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Sure. You want to be in our dumb sci-fi TV snake?
And most of them are just all like, yeah, I got literally nothing else going on. Comic-Con isn't really a thing yet. I can't really hit that circuit yet. So yes, please give me that snake money.
Give me this. So yeah, the brothers, they're at odds with each other. Jonathan goes to meet up with his friend Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, he's back.
Yeah.
Remember from Mr. Stitch himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's playing Tommy. Johnny and Tommy. God, fucking, they broke the Philip Roth. Really, like pulled out like the big stuff here.
It's not the author, Philip Roth.
And Will Wheaton.
With his purple haircut and
here's the thing, he looks like Guy Fieri for the entire movie, and then he's just all like, oh, okay, he's playing like the goofy best friend of the main character, whatever. Halfway through the movie, we find out he's a realtor.
Yes.
He works in real estate,
and
he's got purple hair and like a flame shirt.
Yep.
And like backwards sunglasses. Who gave this guy a real estate license?
Anybody can become a realtor. That's what I think this movie's trying to get across.
And it's like a small town too, of like maybe like over 1,000 people. So it's
everyone knows the cops and everything. Everyone kind of knows the murder victim. They're on their way to meet up with their girlfriends, and we have like this intercut conversation between like the girlfriends talking to each other and the guy friends talking to each other. And the main sticking point there is that Tommy really loves his girlfriend but wants to make a lot of money before he can propose to her, and also they've never had sex. Yeah.
And this is all important characterization that all totally comes to something.
Yes,
it's very important that these particular characters are fleshed out, because they will both become very important later. Not really.
Yeah, those two characters. Well, Tommy and his girlfriend are murder victims, and we get more fleshed out backstory to these guys.
We truly do.
Yeah, it's super ridiculous. You were about to say?
Well, I was going to say. So Tommy has a girlfriend, and John has a girlfriend as well too.
Who is played by
Kristen. She's played by Dana Barron. Who is primarily known as the original Audrey Griswold in National Lampoon's Vacation.
Okay.
She is the only actress to play Audrey Griswold more than once, because famously they recast those kid roles in every movie that they are. She's the only one to come back for multiple vacation roles, because she is in National Lampoon's Vacation. She's also in Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure.
Oh, you're right.
Which is weird because she did not play Audrey in Christmas Vacation, but they're not getting Juliette Lewis back for that shit. So, But again, she's also someone you've probably heard of.
Okay, cool.
And, and so, like, the backstory there is that this is, like, a bit of a love triangle. We haven't mentioned, like, the best character in this movie.
Well, like...
My favorite character.
Well, certainly not my favorite character in the movie, but should we mention, like, the other name?
Hell yeah!
Okay. So there's this recurring police officer character whose name is Greg, and he's played by William Zabka.
Hell yeah, Billy
Johnny
Zabka!
Lawrence himself. And when he first... Look, I'm watching a lot of Cobra Kai. I thought that show is way better than it has any right to be. And he steals most of the scenes that he's in just because he's like this, doesn't give a shit, 80s movie throwback, hair metal, burnout kind of character, right?
He's a revelation, I think is what you're trying to say.
Sure. But because I'm watching a lot of Cobra Kai, I know what grown-up William Zabka sounds like. This is the first time I clued in, no, this movie has some fucking audio issues, because his voice is way too high.
This isn't a racing circuit, Cooper. You keep riding like that, somebody's gonna get hurt.
This upload
Yeah.
of Python has some audio issues because everyone's voice is pitched a little higher than it is supposed to be. Either that or from 2000 to 2018, William Zabka smoked like a pack of cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
But
Which I wouldn't put it past him.
no, definitely not.
But yeah, he plays a police officer who had a tense history between Johnny and his girlfriend, because we find out that Johnny left town when he got a cycling sponsorship, and he left town to go pursue it. And while he was away, his girlfriend cheated on him with the William Zabka character. And when Johnny came back to town, she broke off an engagement with William Zabka.
Something like that.
Something
I couldn't
stupid.
care. I couldn't possibly care about what the interplay between these characters. But yeah, there's a love triangle between these three characters.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bad blood. William Zabka's got a chip on his shoulder because Johnny stole his girl. It's doubly weird that the other character's name is Johnny.
Yeah.
It's really like that. And before we try to piece together a terrible Cobra Kai, Cobra Python,
Right.
like that, I just want to bring to attention there are only 2 bits of trivia attributed to Python.
I know exactly what you're going to bring up, but
One
please go
one
ahead.
of them I just want to mention the way that this is worded. William Zabka was in the movie The Karate Kid and the Netflix TV show Cobra Kai. A cobra is a type of snake.
Thank
so
you,
thank
you,
you,
IMDb.
IMDb. That's very important. Yeah. So that's.
They really needed to scrape the bottom of the barrel for that.
So here's the
trivia
thing:
page.
the trivia on IMDb is all user generated.
Right.
And here's the thing: there's only 2 bits of trivia associated with this movie. While I was watching it and while I was doing my research, I realized I had a piece of trivia that is just as stupid and pointless as anything else.
Do you get paid to add
Nope.
IMDb trivia?
You don't
'Cause
get
that's-
you don't get any
okay.
money. You just get the credit of knowing that is on there
Right.
forever. So, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you what my trivia is, and then after this episode's over, I'm going to upload that to IMDb, and I'll be like the 3rd person on the IMDb thing for Python. Here's the thing. Here's my little weird piece of trivia. So, William Zabka plays the ex-boyfriend of Kristen, who is played by Audrey Griswold from Vacation.
Okay.
In European Vacation, William Zabka played Audrey's boyfriend.
Oh.
So they are technically exes, except Dana Barron didn't play Audrey in that movie because they recast them every movie. Here's the cherry on the useless fact sundae here. The name of the actress who did play Audrey in that movie was also Dana.
Oh.
There we go. That's exactly the type of shit that you read on IMDb trivia. That's just all like, I feel stupider for having known this now.
Look
But,
at you with your galaxy
look
brain.
At, how do you like that? How do you like that? Dropping the ball.
Yeah. So at the swimming hole, they discover the slain lesbian woman's snake.
You can just say woman.
Well, what was her name?
Oh God, I don't know that.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Actually, I think it was Lisa.
Okay.
It was Lisa and I know the other one was Roberta because that's a line of dialogue.
Actually, funny enough, that was the bisexual woman, and
Yes.
that was the character that all the guys knew because she was, I guess, a loose gal and would just like sleep with everybody in town. So all the guys were familiar with.
Yeah,
Lisa.
she was the Billy of her day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as the cops are investigating the murder scene, William Zabka notices the carving on the tree that like Johnny Hart Lisa or whatever, and he's like, I just saw him at the swimming hole with her snake.
Yeah, because the snake shows the smaller snake, the smaller python.
So that's a nice setup for like why he's specifically targeting him in this murder case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart. One might say a story worthy of American author Philip J. Roth. Anyway, they find a bunch of bodies. They find like bodies dissolved in acid because we find out that this python has been, and it's not just like a big python. It's been like other parts of snakes have been like combined into this thing.
Into the super snake.
So it's got fangs because pythons don't have fangs, but this one has got fangs because it's a monster movie. It's scary, but also it has like acid sacs in its mouth and it shoots.
It spits stomach acid. Essentially.
It spits stomach acid, and that's how John becomes like suspect number 1 because he runs an acid factory.
That's right.
The town acid hole.
It all adds
It
up.
all makes sense.
We just gotta find motive, and we can book this guy.
So we see the rest of the police squad.
Yes.
And oh boy, Jameson, do we got a trio of who's who of who cares
Right.
in this here. But the sheriff, is our old buddy Gary Grubbs
From A Sunday Horse.
from A Sunday Horse.
He played the mean dad.
Who I've never heard of this man before.
And now he's
Sunday
a big
Horse.
part of our lives.
Now he's in two of them, and I love him because he's always got a smile on his face.
We're one Gary Grubbs movie away from having a trilogy.
We
of
truly
this
are.
guy.
We truly are. We gotta look for it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like he's there. He's the sheriff. He's there with a coroner who is played by another Linda Hamilton connection.
Oh, Jesus.
He is played by the actor who played sort of the main child of the corn. He played Isaac, who was like the leader of the children of the corn.
Interesting.
And he had a big hat.
So he's got some horror pedigree.
Yes, he is. He's sort of like a sub-horror boogeyman villain here.
Sub is a bit of a poor choice of words, given that he's a very short.
He's a diminutive actor.
Very,
yes, definitely.
Very elven looking. There's one shot where he's the coroner, and there's one shot where he's talking to the cops, and I couldn't help but think that they're doing some like Lord of the Rings style camera force perspective.
He's that tiny.
Because like he just looks so diminutive next to these guys. He was like a hobbit.
John Franklin is this actor's name, yes. And then there's Deputy Lewis Ross, who is played by an actor named Sean Whalen, who's been in a lot of things. He was one of the crew in Twister. He's in Batman Returns. He's in Men in Black. He's in Charlie's Angels. But his big claim to fame, Jameson, this is where we are stretching the limits of like, oh, that guy. This guy was in the original Got Milk commercial.
Oh,
where
the very first one?
He takes the big bite of the peanut butter sandwich, and then the radio station calls him, and he knows the answer.
Oh, but he can't talk his mouth full of peanut
Aaron
butter.
Burr! Who shot Alexander Hamilton? Aaron Burr! There's Aaron Burr! So he's that guy. So we got Sheriff Gary Grubbs, we got Coroner Child of Corn, and we got Deputy Got Milk.
Okay. Wow. Well done, Cass.
What a collection! What a
Your cup runneth over with this episode.
What a cavalcade of stars!
Yeah,
yeah.
I loved that character, Deputy Lewis.
Oh yeah,
because like he kind of just starts off as like this suck-up toady to William Zabka. Because when he says like, "Hey, like the number one suspect is the guy who stole your girl," you can't wait to bust his ass. And William Zabka is just like, no, we're going to treat this like an actual police investigation, and we're going to take this seriously, and I don't have an axe to grind quite yet. You settle down, Lewis.
I found this character really irritating, but I'm not blaming the actor because the character is irritating, and he's playing the role the way it was written. So he's doing a good job. It's just a thankless task to play the one insufferable character in the movie, and boy,
I don't know. I came around to him maybe because I just thought he was like a good comedic performer. There's like parts where he's trying to get his handcuffs and his nightstick falls out of his belt.
He's very fucking.
He's very extra.
Barty Fife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as extra as perhaps my favorite character in the movie, Kenny the Closer, the #1 real estate agent in town.
Dude, this guy was incredible.
Oh man, this movie desperately needed more of this guy.
He really did. But like there was a decent because he gets like a scene and a half all to himself. This is where we find out that Will Wheaton, like, I guess works for him. He's like a realtor within like his business.
Yeah, he's like the biggest the #1 hotshot real estate agent in town. He's introduced when he pulls up next to him at a red light. He climbs out of the moonroof. He just goes, bah! And he's yelling at kids who are getting too close to his car. He's so loud, and I loved it.
Did you manage to write down anything he was saying?
No, because I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, because it's just this guy's like performance, but he just sees Will. He sees like his employee in the next car over, and he's just all like, we're gonna close, aren't we? Yeah, Kenny the Closer.
Hey, Tommy! You gonna close the deal on that Baxter place tomorrow?
I hope so.
Oh, hope it's for losers, kid. You gotta know something. Me, I'm showing Redstone tonight. Model D. Prospect is hotter to trot. You think I'm hoping? Hell no. You know what I'm... Hey! You scratch it, I'll hang your balls like fuzzy dice from my mirror. You got that, Billy? You got it? Anyway, I'm gonna ask you one more time. And this is Kenny the Closer that's asking you. Are you gonna close that deal?
Yeah.
Are you gonna close that deal?
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna close that deal? Hell yeah! That's the ticket! Ka-ching, baby!
His extremes are Jason Alexander when he goes into full-on ranting George Costanza.
Oh, my God.
And I was here for it. What a great... this movie desperately needed more of him.
I've been catching up on my Seinfeld. That's kind of like the movie. That's like the show, and it's all like, there's like an hour before I have to go to bed. I'll put a couple of episodes on this. I will never get over the fact that Jason Alexander never won an Emmy for Seinfeld.
It's a damn shame, and he often went up against Michael Richards.
He often did. He often lost to Michael. And look, Michael Richards should have one Emmy.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it's funny, like, because I'm now on like season 3 of Seinfeld, and it's like, it's so funny how as that show goes on, it eventually becomes a show about a character named George Costanza who has a friend named Jerry Seinfeld who's a comedian. Like, George really is, like, yeah, there's always a story about Jerry, but George's parallel story is almost always more interesting than what's going on with Jerry.
He's a great character.
George Costanza is one of the best characters in all of comedy TV. Like, it's
just
so great.
Like an impulsive liar and like a weasel, but he thinks he can get away with it and he never can.
Well, the joke with George is that he always makes the wrong choice.
Yes.
He always has the wrong take. He always makes the wrong decision. And he's always more, and like, that's why Seinfeld can get away with like gay panic jokes, because it's not about like, oh, aren't these gay people ridiculous? The joke is always, George is an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's why that shit's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, Seinfeld tangent over.
Yeah.
You notice we haven't talked about Robert Englund yet?
Well, he hasn't showed up in the movie yet.
No.
You know,
and like, that's not to say that like this is like a minor cameo. He's in a decent amount of the movie. It's just the way that this movie is structured is very like scene by scene. It's almost like a collection of scenes that don't have a ton to do with one another until suddenly, like in the last 20 minutes,
the characters
they all come together.
Yeah, there's like an A plot, a B plot, and a C plot.
Yes, and Robert Englund is in the D plot.
Exactly.
So let's finally get to the man.
Yeah.
Because he is introduced
cradling
in a way.
a baby snake.
He's cradling a baby snake, and he calls the baby snake Mein Liebchen. And I'm all like, oh, okay. So
German accent. Gotcha.
He's going to play like an evil German snake doctor, and this is the role we're going to get. He's not German. He never says another word in German throughout the entire movie. He doesn't have
an accent.
He doesn't have an accent, and he's also kind of not a villain.
No, not at all.
He's
he's dressed like John Hammond, and he's like a snake scientist.
Yes.
And when there's
John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no.
There was a split second where I thought you said John Hamm. And I'm all like, when is John Hamm dressed like a Southern lawyer?
Yeah.
John Hammond. You are quite correct. He is John Hammond.
Yeah,
yes.
from Jurassic Park. And yeah, so like the government is aware of this snake, because I'm guessing those were the ones that found this genetically altered snake that they just wanted to examine, and he was the scientist that they were going to call into that. So he is under the supervision of who's that guy?
Casper Van Dien.
Casper Van Dien.
Who's the last person who's dealing with movies that we've covered before, all the way back to episode 3, our first Halloween episode, Dracula 3000.
It's all coming together here.
And much like that movie, he's the first billed actor on the poster of the movie. You assume that he's going to be the main character because it's very soon after Starship Troopers. And he's like he's a minor supporting character who dies midway through the movie.
Yeah, this is a role that you would think, okay, he's like the action hero, tough, no nonsense federal agent, and he's more of like a Southern dandy.
He's got a wild Southern accent that comes in and out throughout the movie. It never stays.
What exactly do you do, Doctor?
I'm a herpetologist.
So you specialize in reptiles. Is that what Biogene was transporting?
Not in the traditional sense. No. What we had was something unique, an evolutionary chimera of immense physiological scale.
You hide behind a lot of big words, Doctor. But what you just said still doesn't tell us what we need to know. We know the flight originated in Southeast Asia. The authorization came from the State Department for the use of a transport out of Guam. But nowhere in the manifest is there so much as a mention of exactly what it was you were transporting. So I'm asking you, Doctor, in simple layman's terms, what was it?
He's got like a pencil-thin mustache and everything.
It's a pencil-thin mustache implies, Jameson, that someone could grow an actual mustache and then shaved it that way. He has more of like a grade 11 mustache.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not great. But like, there was like a very brief window where Hollywood tried to make Casper Van Dien a thing. Because he had Starship Troopers, which he's the lead of, and then I think the next year they gave him a Tarzan movie.
Oh, did
which we could absolutely, if we ever do, we're pretty close. We could do a Casper Van Dien trilogy as well too. We've done 3 of them.
Yeah.
We could do that Tarzan movie. 1999, he has a small role in Sleepy Hollow, which is like the other big studio movie that he's in,
Right.
where once again he plays a minor antagonist who dies midway through the movie, and then by 2000 he's already in Python. So he already has to take the sci-fi money.
Yeah.
That's how
Wow.
little amount of time Hollywood wanted to invest in Casper Van Dien.
Yeah, well, Starship Troopers was a bit of a box office bomb, right?
I don't have the information in front of me.
Like,
I don't think it did as well as they wanted it to, but
because people didn't pick up on the Verhoeven satire.
yeah,
that it
people
was.
didn't understand that was a satirical comedy. They thought it was like a big
Sci-fi action movie.
stupid action romp, including myself. When
Yeah.
I was a kid, I'm all like, "Oh, this is great! The women and men are showering together, and there's boobies, and there's blood, and like orange goo and stuff." And then I watched it as a kid. I'm all like, "Oh, this is like incredibly smart.
Yeah.
This is a very intelligent movie." Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, he's in that, and I think we're almost at the. Oh no, we got one more big one.
Yeah,
we got one more big one.
So,
God, there's so many people in
before
this
we get to
movie.
that, like, Casper Van Dien is just like, so what are we up against here, Professor? And
There's some sort of python.
oh, it's giving me the vapors. This
Oh,
vapor.
goodness me!
I got the vapors.
I got the vipers. Fuck. God. Podcast over. Thank you very much. Thank you to Podstream Studios for the. We're not gonna do better than that.
But no, he's asking him like, so what are we up against? And Robert Englund is just like, okay, so we're taking all the like the. It's got the best parts of like all these snakes, and it's a giant snake now, and it's bulletproof, and you can't kill it. And he's like, "Fuck it, we're the U.S. government. We
Like
can
an
kill it."
anti-tank missile wouldn't blow this thing up.
Yeah, I love the part where like his troops are actually going up against the snakes, and like they all have different weapons. They got like grenade launchers,
Oh my
bazookas.
We gotta get
rocket
to that
launchers.
scene
Yeah,
eventually because that seems unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to get that point out that Robert Englund specifically says, like, yeah, you can't really kill this thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
we made a snake too good.
Yeah.
It's too good of a snake.
And it's one of these, like, dumb giant monster movies where it's like, why the fuck did they make this thing in the first place? They say, like, oh, there could be, like...
Oh, the snake, not the movie.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so sci-fi had a budget for, like, original
needed
movies. No.
They needed an hour and a half block of
Yeah,
television to film.
exactly, yeah.
No, like, but it's like, oh, there's, like, countless military applications that something like this could have. It's like, then why make it a giant snake?
It's always military applications.
Yeah.
Whenever you make, like, a giant whatever,
Yeah.
it's always because military.
Yeah.
It's all like, imagine if we we went into Iraq with giant snakes,
Yeah.
giant acid-spitting snakes.
Yeah.
So like, how would we control the snakes? It's like, well, the snakes would. It's the Simpsons joke where it's all like, the snakes would get out of control. We have to introduce gorillas.
The giant mongoose or whatever to go after it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so like, okay, let's do it. Let's do a plot count.
Okay.
So we got the BMX acid boy and his girlfriend and
the love triangle
William
with Johnny
Zabka,
Lawrence, yeah.
Johnny Lawrence. We got Robert Englund and Casper Van Dien. They're talking about the snake.
Yeah.
We got the sheriff and his posse trying to solve the murder of the lesbians.
And then we get a nice, fun little detour where
With Kenny the closer,
who is showing a client around to this mansion, and the client just so happens to be played by Jenny McCarthy.
Yep. That's all I really have to. This is all I really have to say about that. And she's very game.
You know what? These two actors are dialed the fuck in.
They're having some fun.
Yeah.
She is meeting Kenny the Closer's energy, and she is giving it back.
You know what? Politics aside for Jenny McCarthy.
Sure, we don't need to talk about Jenny McCarthy's stupid beliefs.
I'm
but
just gonna say, like, people forget that she's actually a pretty funny actress, and for an attractive actress like that to have good comedy chops is pretty rare.
She's funny in basketball.
She's very funny in that. She's done like a ton of like sitcom roles and stuff. Yeah, she's a funny actress.
Yep.
And I forgot that because
politics. Vaccines.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and everything.
But yeah, like these two guys are great together. I would have loved more scenes of these two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know who. I actually don't know who Kenny the Closer is. Let me look that up.
I don't think he's anybody. He should be.
I mean,
somebody.
he is someone.
Yeah, they didn't just
Damn
like
it,
find a guy.
They didn't create an actor in a lab.
Yeah, like a snake.
His name is Scott Williamson. Oh, he's a Christopher Guest guy.
Oh, I can see that.
He's in Waiting for Guffman. He's in Best in Show. He's in Mascots.
Okay.
He's not in A Mighty Wind, but yeah, he's in most of the Christopher. That makes sense because he's funny. He's a funny guy.
He's very funny.
I don't know who he is, but yeah, it's good. Yeah, so he's showing this house to Jenny McCarthy, and there's a python in the garage. A big one.
And he's thinking like, oh, it's probably some kid.
Well, he says it's that kid from earlier who kicked his car and then flipped him off.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
He followed him,
and
he's
has this
fucking his
running
car
quarrel
up.
with a neighborhood kid, and he's like, I'll show him. So he grabs a fucking sword off the wall, and he goes to
like a full
investigate.
saber. And it's funny because it's all like, we know there's a giant snake in the thing, but like he just thinks there's like a 10-year-old.
So his plan is to murder this kid with a sword. this coked up maniac.
And this is like the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is like the first time we really get a look at Python.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything else was like the kills happened after the fact. He was in the cargo plane. He was in the crate.
We see bits of him.
Yeah. Now we see him in his full CGI glory.
Is it charitable to say PS1 era graphics for this thing?
I wrote down. Remember the Spawn movie and how shitty the special effects were in that?
Yeah,
the CGI?
this
That's
is
what
maybe a step above that.
Yeah.
Spawn is uniquely terrible.
It is.
But the funniest thing about the Python is that it's like 95% CGI, but they also have like a practical like snake tail.
Yeah.
That someone's just hiding behind a box and going like,
it's on a stick that just
yeah, exactly,
around.
yeah. And it's so obviously not the same thing. It doesn't have the same properties.
Yeah.
It's very funny. Yeah. So
it kills him. It picks up Kenny and it shakes him around like a rag doll in a even worse looking CGI shot.
It's quite bad.
And I
Jenny
don't know
McCarthy comes in and gets decapitated by the sharp snake tail, I guess.
So I don't know any breed of snake that has like a razor sharp tail.
Well, this is a combo snake, Jameson. This is
it-
like all the dangerous parts of every snake turned into one snake and then large.
If they wanted to do that, just make it like a fucking rattlesnake tail.
That is funny that they don't. Well, I guess they take like the venom
Of a cobra. And the fangs of a viper.
Because that is the thing. They have taken. I mean, like pythons are dangerous because, of course, pythons.
They
restrict.
They snare people. Yeah,
they snare and they squeeze and then they swallow whole,
right?
Which is terrifying. But for some reason, they've made the python of the title a more generic snake. Like they give him fangs.
Yeah.
Not that he ever uses them.
No, and they gave him like the ability to spit stomach acid.
Yeah, we've talked about this already.
Yeah, but even though he only does that twice in the movie, like that's he does most of the killings off camera through that. But then in cases where like he's trapped people like in a corner,
for the last 30 minutes of this movie, he conveniently forgets that he has acid sacs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a skunk. Maybe he needs time to like recharge.
Sure.
He's used up all of his acid.
Yeah.
Or her. We don't know.
Yeah.
Could be a lady python.
Yeah.
Hey, progressive movie.
So, anyways, the two best comedic characters in the movie eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gone.
Kenny is turned into a skeleton.
Yes.
He's turned into an acid man, which I feel like is like the same skeleton that they just like put new clothes on every time. Because it's just like a red goopy skeleton that they just dress up when they find them and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's here in my notes? I just wrote down next to Casper Van Dien. This doesn't have anything to do with the plot. I just noticed next to Casper Van Dien, I wrote down Snake Boss Southern Boy. I don't know. My mind was elsewhere when I was taking notes.
On that, yeah.
Nope, Snake Boss Southern Boy. That's the new Hunter Kylo. Also, where was this snake hiding in this garage? Because it's the size of like a tanker truck. It's massive.
Yeah.
And it's all like this isn't that big of a garage. It's behind some boxes, but it's all like it's not gonna fit behind there.
How did it get in? Like we didn't break a window just yet.
Well, we hear rustling, and then I guess we're like meant to assume that it got in somehow.
Fair. So the cops find the crime scene there, and they're like, okay, we gotta haul in BMX Johnny or whatever the fuck his name is.
His name is BMX Johnny.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jameson.
They gotta call
Snake Boy, Southern Man, and Snake Boss, Bike Man Johnny. I forgot all about it. All right.
Yeah. I forget exactly how this escalates to this point, but it comes to a fight between Johnny and
because if William Zabka is in any project whatsoever, he has to have a kung fu fight at some point.
Yeah,
that is in his contract.
So like they've got a lot of bad blood between them. So he's all right. Put the badge is coming off. Like
he literally takes his badge off.
Yeah, and well you can't swing at a cop without repercussions. So he's just okay. Well now I'm not
a cop anymore. I'm a civilian.
And,
I don't know why he's John Wayne.
I don't know, but you know what? I gotta say, decent fight.
decent fight. It's kind of fun because they go onto like a child's playground. And
Well, they say when they're just getting in each other's face, he's like, "What are you doing? This isn't a playground." And of course, the fight escalates to a playground.
I missed that. Oh, that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's also a part earlier in the movie where BMX Johnny's going through town and he almost T-bones.
BMX Johnny.
He almost T-bones William Zabka's cop car. He's like, "Watch where you're going. You're going to end up hurt." Guess what happens later on in the movie? He does hit the car.
That's what starts off the fight. He's riding his BMX, and then William Zabka just happens to be there, and he goes ass over tea kettle over the thing. He breaks his special bike that he can't get anywhere else. This is a special bike that I got from my special bike friend.
Setup, payoff.
Yeah,
all right. And
it's
so they have this like really brutal fight, and that's shot decently well because you have like the long shots where you can actually see the full bodies and what they're doing. And they're throwing each other into the bike racks, and it escalates up the playground and down the slide. And once the fight's over, they got it out of their system. They're pretty cool with each other.
BFFs.
Yeah,
he's BFFs with the BMX Johnny.
I don't know. They could have elaborated a little bit more on like the bad blood between them, but like that.
I mean, they do. They go into it,
and like that could have been a very potentially interesting backstory because they're both after the same woman. The woman was the unfaithful one, and they were just caught up in the middle of it, and they seem to be pretty cool with each other.
Yeah, they all worked it out. Yeah. Here's the interesting thing about Python is that it keeps setting up characters that you assume based on who they're played by and what their archetype is, that they're going to be like a human antagonist outside of the Snake. They do it with William Zabka, who's playing like the small town cop with a chip on his shoulder, and he's played by an actor who's famous for playing a villain in an 80s movie. And no, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
They get Freddy fucking Krueger
to be like a mad scientist,
who's like stroking a little snake and speaking in German and everything like that. He turns out to be an okay character.
Yeah.
Even Casper Van Dien. Here's the weird thing about Casper Van Dien. Casper Van Dien plays his role like a villain, but everything he says is like good stuff. Like he's like saying to like Robert Englund's all like, "I didn't know those two pilots, but when they signed on, they became my men, and we're gonna honor their families."
Yeah.
But he's saying it with like the cadence of like a supervillain. So it's weird how this keeps happening over and over. I guess the deputy is maybe like an antagonist, but he's
very ineffectual.
Yeah, no one takes him seriously.
Because once Kenny is out of the movie, this guy elevates himself to be like the movie's comedy relief.
Yeah.
And like he has like some good bits where like he's questioning BMX Johnny, and he's sorry,
it's great. It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, and he's like,
"Where were you last night? Between 10 and 12 p.m. You think I murdered Lisa? Murdered? Nobody said anything about a murder. What makes you think there was a murder? Lenny and Boone told me. Oh yeah, and just how did they know? They said that you told them. Oh yeah, I guess I did. Lewis, why don't you let John? Yeah, fine.
I got a little chuckle. Yeah. I got a little chuckle. If we haven't mentioned this before, the thing about Python is that it's straight up a comedy.
Yes.
It's really not a horror movie at all. I mean, like it's a monster movie or whatever, but it is very much going for yucks.
Horror
comedy. Everyone who is in it is aware of the fact that they're in a dumb movie called Python. Everyone's performances are kind of aimed that way. It's very much a horror comedy. It reminded me in certain scenes, it kind of has like the comedic rhythm of something like Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
And like it could get there maybe if like the jokes were like a little more insular and they maybe built like a few more like if they built like a cool practical big snake
for sure,
and didn't rely so much on like terrible CGI, it might be a little more of a cult classic because the jokes are there.
They are there, and like the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that leans heavily into the camp territory. Whereas I think this movie has far too many characters that are played straight. And I'll be honest, firing up this movie, I was like, okay, let's get through this bullshit TV sci-fi original movie about a dumb giant snake. I didn't expect this movie to have as many funny comedic performers and performances in this movie. Yeah,
we're jumping ahead to our final thoughts, but let's not give the game away.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to mention earlier in his introduction, but I forgot. Did you know William Zabka, Oscar nominee?
Really?
Yeah.
For what?
He
Python?
He was the producer of a short film that was nominated for live-action short film.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So William Zabka, Academy Award nominee.
Good for him.
That's a weird little bit of trivia there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
So back to like those dumb teenage lovers or whatever they are.
Who are like easily 25.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're planning like a weekend getaway to Crystal Lake, which I know is a real fucking place, but I mean,
No.
come the fuck on.
That was a joke. That was obviously a joke.
Yeah.
They know they're in a horror movie. They're gonna mention this shit.
I even looked it up. Yes, there is a Crystal Lake.
I'm sure there's
California.
multiple Crystal Lakes.
In North America, there's at least 3, but I mean,
I feel like I went to like a Camp Crystal Lake when I was a kid. You know, it's just like that's what the lake looks like. Crystal. What else are you gonna call it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm just surprised that they didn't fucking live on Elm Street when they dropped that.
Oh man, there's probably like a background joke or like
Some
Elm Street.
stupid thing like that.
Someone's walking by and it's all like, "Hey, where's that chainsaw?"
So-
Oh, loved it in Texas.
So Tommy and his girlfriend go to her mom's place, who is like conveniently not there this evening, and we figure, oh, this is when they're finally gonna have sex.
There we go. Here
And,
it is. They're gonna have sex, and then the python's gonna eat them because sex equals death.
Anyway, she brings him over to the empty house so he could sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
he's never gonna get laid. This poor. Well, he never does.
He never does.
Yeah, Will Wheaton
the-
dies a virgin. in
Yeah.
this movie.
And then like they have to wake up at like 5 in the morning the next day because they're gonna go meet with BMX Johnny
Mhm.
and Audrey Griswold.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's like a weird. I forgot like all of like the setup for everything like this, but like they
Yeah.
go the two couples are both going away for the weekend. But they're in different cabins that are
Yeah.
like a ways drive away from each other.
Right.
It's a weird setup, and I don't quite get. But we don't spend enough time at either of these locations for it to matter.
I think
But
the
it
reason
is
they-
odd that they're not in the same place.
I think that's because they haul in BMX Johnny in for questioning.
Did that happen? I feel like that happened before,
I mean,
because
there's-
he gets
there-
let off, and they prove that he didn't dunk the bodies in acid or whatever, and William Zabka's on his side.
But
And William Zabka literally puts him in the car and says, like, enjoy your weekend with my ex-girlfriend, because I'm
Yeah.
fine with this now.
Yeah, like she slaps him across the face and says like, "Why don't you guys just like settle this?" And like, we did. We're cool with it now.
And she
But
has
I'm
she has a great, like, oh, what? Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
what? But yeah, my favorite part about the death scenes in this house is the girlfriend is having her shower, and the snake goes into the basement suite and is attacking her while she's in the washroom. At one point, she just reaches for like a shampoo bottle and like
Yes,
and
this is funny.
like
Yeah.
squirts it in the eyes, and I'm like, well, why would you even think that it would actually work? But then I realized that, oh, that's actually just a setup to a joke, because she's trying to blind the snake. It's not working. She looks at it, and it's one of those like fucking child no tears.
No more tears. And then they do a no more tears joke, and it's kind of fun. I mean, like, there's a bunch of jokes like stacked on top of another and this and everything like that. Like, she doesn't realize that the python is there
Even though it roars like a goddamn lion.
until Will Wheaton in the upstairs bathroom flushes the toilet, and it gets all like cold and then hot. And like, wow, that's taking me back. I haven't thought about that in years.
Yeah.
That's a bit of nostalgia. That's still like a thing? Has plumbing evolved
Depends
since
on
then?
it depends on how old the building, how old the pipes. Yeah.
I've just never been in. It's been like well over like a decade since I've been in a situation where if someone flushed an upstairs toilet, it fucked with the shower down there. So I'm just all like, remember when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, I live in an apartment building. I think that because of that, they had to phase out the technology.
Right,
Because
yeah.
Unless you're all showering or pooping together.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
the military. So.
yeah. The snakes, famously quiet creatures, don't really make a lot of things.
Yeah.
This snake, of course, has
Makes every noise but a hiss.
that is provided naturally by Frank Welker.
Yeah,
They got Frank. They paid him $200, and they gave him a microphone. It's all like, Frank, do your thing.
yeah,
And he's just all like, I guess a snake would sound like.
yeah. Because
Oh man, I'm not Frank Welker. Clearly, goddamn.
I mean, all this just told me is like Frank Welker has probably never even seen a snake.
But that's the thing. We don't need to explain that for the people. Everyone knows Frank Welker is like the voiceover artist who just naturally can do every animal.
Yeah.
And I guess when certain animals don't make noises, he invents some for them. Because he also did the voice of the anaconda in Anaconda.
Right.
And this is very much just that. He has like a snake voice
Yeah.
that he does, which is something more like, it's more like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Something
This is
like
how he
that, yeah.
differentiates. Like, if they asked him to come back for the Anaconda movies, it's like, okay, well, I
I'm almost certain he came back for every Anaconda movie. That is a phone call that Frank Welker is willing to take.
Yeah. So yeah, the snake kills Will Wheaton.
He eats Will Wheaton.
He kills. Oh, back to Casper Van Dien's army guys.
Yeah. Remember
so,
them?
Yeah. So he's informing the local sheriff that like. He makes
Sheriff Gary Grubbs.
Sheriff Gary Grubbs. He makes up this bullshit backstory that, like, oh yeah, we're going after like a super soldier or something, which Gary Grubbs does not believe.
Like a super soldier from like an escaped mental asylum.
Yeah.
And if that's like your cover and everything like that, just tell him you're going after a giant snake.
Yeah.
Both are equally implausible.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you worried about? Like, this guy's just not gonna believe you. You have jurisdiction over this guy. He has to listen to you, and because he's like part of the he's a civil servant. He's got to go along with it and keep his mouth shut too. So just tell him it's a fucking giant snake. And it couldn't hurt.
And those are pretty funny. You might even save some lives. And there's like a fairly funny line when Sheriff Gary Grubbs is all like, "You expect me to swallow this bullshit?" And Casper Van Dien is all like, "It would make my job significantly easier if you could swallow this bullshit. Actually, thank you."
Yes.
And Gary Grubbs just kind of like, "Ha ha! All right, well, I'll be in the next scene if you need me.
We'll be on the stakeout for you."
Yeah. And then Casper Van Dien and all of his mercenaries, and also Robert Englund for some reason, who is trudging through the forest in his white suit and attaché case with his pet snake in it. I'm just like, why is he here?
Yeah.
Couldn't he wait back in like the
lab or
exactly? Like, why does he have to come with them?
So he can identify the snake. Like,
I'm pretty sure it's the giant fucking
we
snake.
We got the wrong snake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's a thing where it's all like, I guess they put like a tracking device in the snake before the movie starts.
Mm-hmm.
The tracking device is just built into the python.
Sure. Wherever the fuck this thing
and they're
came
tracking
from.
it, and it's all like, oh, it's staying still. It hasn't moved in 3 hours, and Robert Englund is all like, it's been eating a lot of people, so it might be having a little snake nap.
Yeah.
So all of the mercs kind of like gain up, and it's all like, we got the snake in our crosshairs, everyone.
Open fire!
Open fire! And there's like 2 unbroken minutes where like these 10 mercenaries are just shooting at nothing.
Yeah.
It is
just firing wildly into the countryside.
Zucker Brothers levels of explosions here.
Absolutely.
They're throwing grenades. There's got like a rocket launcher.
It's Hot Shots Part 2.
Yeah. And after that, like the main guy just turns around, is all like, "We got him, confirmed kill." It's all like, "No, you didn't see. It's a giant snake. You would know if you hit that. You were firing at nothing, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was there."
And in fact, they were shooting like it shed skin. And
right.
And that's when like the snake makes his move.
And they're all like, "Clever girl." It's all like, not that clever.
No.
Actually, it was the most rudimentary ruse
Yeah.
you could have done, really.
And Robert Englund's like, "I keep telling you, this is no ordinary snake. It's super smart, it's super strong, super fast, and everything. It fooled us all." And
yeah. And they do. This is something that I meant to look up, but like, yeah. So it eats or it kills all of the mercenaries, and Casper Van Dien and Robert Englund are running away, but the snake corners them, and Robert Englund pulls out of Jurassic Park. And he goes, "Don't move, stay perfectly still." And it's all like, I guess we're doing this. Is this a thing? Are snakes? Is that like a thing?
I know
Is this like a thing that they built into Jurassic Park because they were like combining other DNA with the dinosaurs and that, and so it's all like, we took this from pythons. Don't move, or they can't see ya.
Well, with Jurassic Park, it was like amphibians that they took the DNA from.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's bullshit that they just.
I think it's bullshit too. Yeah.
To eliminate Casper Van Dien.
Because Casper Van Dien doesn't stay still. He reaches for his gun,
and then he gets stabbed by the tail.
This tail, very sharp tail, very sharp tail. It takes out our 2 biggest name actors with this tail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure. Like, I've seen videos of like a snake that might have like cornered a mouse or whatever, and the mouse is being perfectly still. The snake still knows that there's something for it to eat there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is no ordinary snake.
This is a super snake.
Yeah.
This is the python.
But yeah, Robert Englund.
You're doing it now too.
I am. Yeah. Now you got me doing it. Yeah, he's all right. And Tommy's girlfriend escapes from the snake, gets into her car. Snake manages to break the axle of the car, and then he spots BMX Johnny and his girlfriend. So he goes after them. This is just to keep this discussion going. I'm just gonna break down these bullet points here.
Like, eventually all the characters are going to get together. One of the movie's biggest faults is they kill off Deputy Lewis off camera.
Yeah.
And, like, this is the character who's, like, the most antagonistic of any of the other characters. He's kind of like set up to be like the problem that they have to get through.
Yeah.
This guy deserved an on-camera death.
Yes, he did.
Like, the snake deaths aren't great in this movie, but he deserved at least one of them. And we just see, like, his empty cop car with, like, blood on it and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that was a real missed opportunity.
On that subject, did Gary Grubbs die?
No, if he
Yeah.
did, he just disappears from the movie.
'Cause I looked away for half
Yeah.
a second, like, to get a glass of water, when, like, the last time I saw him on camera, and I didn't hear, like, a
No,
death
it,
scene or
liter-
anything,
it
but,
literally plays out, because I guess they've been on stakeout all night.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Grubbs, the deputy, and William Zabka, but they've been in their individual cop cars.
Yeah.
And, like, the next morning after Casper Van Dien's men have all been eaten, Gary Grubbs gets on the radio. He's all like, William Zabka, are you there? And he's all like, yeah, I'm here. Like, Deputy Lewis, are you there? Deputy Lewis, come in. And we cut over to the bloody car.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we cut over to the bloody car, that's the wrap on Gary Grubbs. He's not in the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
so I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Lawrence is like, okay, I'll check on Deputy Lewis, and Gary Grubbs is like, okay, well, I'll go see if I can find those guys.
All right.
And I guess, like, some say he's still searching to this day.
He's still out there. He had like 5 other movies to shoot, so
Yeah. He had to be in a Sunday horse.
yeah, he had to be, yeah. And and then eventually, like, our remaining human characters meet up.
All conveniently find a bunker, like an underground bunker.
That I guess was it Casper Van Dien's bunker? I don't remember.
Sure.
But Robert
Yeah, it was
Englund is in there. England, whatever. Freddy is in there.
Catatonic. He's like,
what is this character's name?
It was something Rudolph.
Dr.
Anton Rudolph.
Anton Rudolph.
Yeah.
Which again, I feel like
He was meant to have a German accent.
I feel like the scene
Can
of
Robert
him.
Englund not do a German accent?
Oh, I'm sure he can.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, he's a classically trained actor. I'm sure. I'm sure, like, the footage of him kissing his little snake friend and going like "Mein Liebchen," that must have been from like an earlier take, and the director was just all like, "Yeah, Robert, we're not gonna do that." But for some reason, that stayed in the movie.
We're not gonna redo that one.
Yeah, Dr. Rudolph. He's having second thoughts about this giant killer snake that he made. He's thinking,
I don't think he made it.
He worked on it.
What was that? I thought they brought it over from like Cambodia or whatever. That was like it was something that was loose.
He wasn't the scientist that made the python?
He knew everything about it.
He was a snake expert.
He was a snake expert. He knew what this thing was and why you couldn't kill it.
He definitely was like on the committee that
Okay,
made the snake, because he knew too much about the snake not to be involved in some way.
Yeah.
But he's definitely kind of he's fully in like, my God, what have I done?
Right.
Territory now.
He's like reciting a speech that I don't know. Is it like from Dante's Inferno or something?
Something like
he's
that.
He's reciting something. You know, I have become death.
I have become Death Destroyer of Worlds and
The Oppenheimer
like
thing, yeah.
Giving this movie a lot more class than it needs.
For sure.
Because he's a fucking Shakespearean actor, Robert Englund.
So, the people decide that they're gonna blow up the mine with the bunker with the snake in it. So they set up the C4.
You know what I was thinking when I was watching this, when I was looking at Robert Englund? Obviously, I think it would be hard to do now because he's so associated with the genre of horror. He's so associated with Freddy Krueger and everything like that. In a different world, Robert Englund could play a good Santa Claus. He's got kind of that face,
a bit of a twist, yeah.
If you gave him like a fuller beard and everything like that, he does have kind eyes.
Yeah.
He has a kind face that is sort of betrayed by the fact that he's a child murdering
Freddy
psychopath.
Krueger, yeah.
But like just Robert Englund on his own, he has a nice face. He's a nice looking guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
he can play Santa.
Seems cool. I don't know. His voice isn't deep enough, I think, to be Santa Claus. Santa Claus to me is
He
always
does.
Like,
he does have
he's
a high pitch voice. Yeah,
yeah,
because when he's not playing like maniacs, he primarily plays like cowards and like sniveling toadies and stuff like that. Like that's kind of like his other thing. So yeah, if he's not trying to kill you, he's like, oh, don't kill me.
Yeah.
That's kind of like his two wheelhouses that he works in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but he absolutely deserves more roles where he can just stretch. I'm sure he's sick to death of horror by now.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think he knows what side of the toast his bread is buttered. Okay. I think he's come to terms a long time ago with he's the horror guy. Also, he's an old man now, so I'm sure he's just happy to get whatever roles come to him.
That's true.
Really.
So the way that they trap this snake in the bunker is they have BMX Johnny rappel down into the bunker to lure the snake in.
Fucking Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
This was so, because it's like
it does the whole thing where he's like he he's rappelling down, and he's like inches away from hitting the floor, and he stops.
But then he takes like 5 hours to take the rope off and then get down. It's like, good thing the python was like moving at a slow fucking clip, because there's no way this python couldn't just go like and eat him, because he's
Robert
taking so long to get this rope off.
He mentions that the snake can go up to 50 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And this guy's able to run the snake.
This is around the time in the movie where the python forgets how deadly it is.
Yeah.
And it just keeps making dumb decisions.
And forgot how to spit the stomach.
I forgot to spit acid. It's just all like, I'm going to eat this guy. Oh no, there's something in my way. I guess I'll keep doing it.
So, BMX Johnny leads him into the bunker, and he runs through to the other side of the bunker, where he's going to attach another rappel to him, which is attached to William Zabka's cop car, and he's going to use the cop car to pull him out of the bunker with seconds to spare. That would kill a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. To have a car pull you from underground at, like, however fast the car is going, he would, like, knock his head against, like, walls, and, in fact, he even launches out of the ground, and he gets dragged around like it's a jackass stunt.
Yeah, that's the most unbelievable thing that happens.
It is,
in Python.
Docking you points for that.
A movie about a
Python.
But this is all for nothing, because the C4 isn't hooked up correctly, and they're all like, we're going to blow up the snake. Oh, no, it didn't work. And then Robert Englund
does the heroic
heroic sacrifice, and there's a lovely little moment where he takes his little snake friend out of his pocket and he gives it to Kristen. He's just like, "This is my only friend. Please take care of him." And I'm all like, "Robert, you big softy!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
You're not so bad after all."
And then they get some funny back and forth where they keep handing the snake until they give it to
the person who's afraid of
Teresa,
snakes.
and she doesn't like it. And it's just very funny that he explicitly says, like, "Please take care of this. This is my friend." And after this scene, we never see this snake again.
No.
So I'm fully convinced that this lady just tossed it in the fucking high grass.
Ew.
Which, by the way, it would be fine there. It's a snake.
Yeah.
You should put him in the tall grass. That's where snakes belong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can't imagine this. Like, snakes don't seem to be, like, the most affectionate, domesticated pet out there. I'm sure it'll be just fine in the wild.
I mean, I guess that snake must have liked being in his pocket, because we forget that he has a snake with him until he mentions it.
Yeah. So, Robert Englund goes into the bunker. I'm just going to say his name fast.
Just say it, exactly.
So, Robert... he goes into the bunker, and he sets up the C4. The snake is, like, staring him down, and I'm just waiting for him to drop any kind of one-liner, any kind of Freddy reference, any kind of, like, Freddy-esque one-liner, like,
and it wouldn't be out of,
see you in hell, or
it
whatever.
It wouldn't be out of place in a movie like this, because this movie's got jokes.
Yeah.
But he's not playing
Dr.
that type
Rudolph
of character.
doesn't have jokes.
No, he's not playing that type of character, and he just valiantly blows himself up, and everyone's excited because the snake is dead, except it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and he blew himself up for absolutely no reason, which is kind of a bummer. Yeah. But he won't know because he's in pieces now. Yeah. And then they get away to the actual ending of this movie, because, you know, much like Anton Chekhov said when he was writing his masterpieces, if you introduce an acid factory in Act 1, it's gotta come into play by the end of it.
I'm telling you, man, set up and pay off for this movie. It's checking all the boxes for here.
So yeah, they lure the snake to his brother's acid factory.
And he said, like, we got a little problem. Little?
Oh my god.
So like, waka waka.
And then, and through like a complicated series of like whatevers, they get the snake to go over a pit of acid, and then they like push half of his body down into the acid,
which apparently eviscerates him,
and that's enough to kill him. And yeah, oh boy, this CGI snake tummy slitting open and all the CGI guts coming out. Oh boy, this is Bush League.
Yeah,
this
texture
is
artists
terrible
working overtime for this one.
Oh my god, you couldn't even. Well, I guess they couldn't because they did. I mean,
they didn't.
Here's the thing: practical effects very expensive.
Yeah, they did not have like particle emitters back in 2000.
I don't even know what that is.
That's well, I'm gonna.
Does it make fake? Does it make fake acid not look like? Look, here's the thing.
It's a repeating effect that, well, once it plays, it kind of looks like something is continuously. You see a lot of waterfall effects use this.
Oh boy, I'll tell you one thing about this snake.
Things. Okay.
They couldn't realize this snake all that well. The one element of the snake that they really shouldn't have tried was the acid.
Yeah.
This acid looks terrible. It's like CG. Anything if you think of like Reboot, how they did water effects back in Reboot. It's that. It's just splotches.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you know what? There's an easy way to avoid this because pythons don't have acid.
Exactly.
So you don't need to include it. But you wrote it in
They're
the
not
movie.
even using the acid for the
They
snake
forget about it. They forget all about it.
Like, shit. All right.
So
and
they
then,
kill
then the most tacked-on ending in the world happens.
6 months later.
The two dummies who work at the refinery are now playing chess and are
Well,
eloquent.
Well, because they got out of the acid factory, so
guess.
that instantly means they're smart now. That's all they needed was 6 months away from the acid.
Yeah.
And I guess BMX Johnny and his brother have closed down the acid factory, and now they run a BMX shop and bar.
A cycling gear shop.
Beers and bikes.
Yeah.
Is what it's called.
Yeah.
Which is
It's
like
bar and gym.
That's like a weird hipster idea that you would see nowadays. But in 2000, it's a very weird business to build in this very small town. How many people are buying BMXs on like on a daily basis?
I don't know. Like, he casually mentioned that he had like a cycling sponsorship, but he's not a professional cyclist.
It's like a niche market though. Like you're dealing with like a small town of like just over 1,000 people. Not all of those people are coming in to buying BMX. Not everyone's into BMX.
Yeah. And William Zabka gets a happy ending because he got accepted into like the FBI training program.
Quantico,
because he mentioned that he wanted to apply, but he never mailed in the application. So the only thing that was ever stopping him from becoming a federal agent was himself.
And he learned to believe in himself. And Teresa, whose boyfriend got eaten by the snake, is seen working at the BMX shop,
slinging drinks,
and she has a shirt that says, "I killed a giant python, and all I got was this T-shirt."
Yeah,
that's
your boyfriend is dead.
He died. That was 6 months ago. You are not over that yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you never even
putting on a
him.
happy facade. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Johnny is just about to have a drink, and she says, "Hey, a man in your condition shouldn't be drinking because his girlfriend is drinking, and therefore solidarity. That means he can't drink either." And I guess they were planning on having a kid, even though that was never brought up before.
Even though they were like barely a couple.
Yeah.
But like this is.
They had less screen time together than the other couple.
They truly did.
Yeah.
But I guess everything's fine because that's how you end a movie with a woman in it.
Yeah.
She's got to be pregnant. There's no other way. She either gets married or she gets pregnant. Because that's how that happens. That's how that goes down.
And then the movie just bluntly ends with the end. And the way that this upload happened was we didn't even see credits.
We didn't even see the end credits. If there was an after credit scene, we didn't know because the person who was who was uploading the movie just said to himself, "That's it. The movie's done.
All right.
The
If
movie's
anyone's
over."
watching this for this long.
There is a Python 2.
Well, this started a franchise, didn't it?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
There's a Python 2. William Zabka is the only one to return.
Oh, really? Okay.
No one else is in it. I think this one is either set within movie and also during the shooting in Russia, because you look at the cast list and it's all Russian actors and William Zabka.
Okay.
And then eventually this movie crossed over with another straight-to-video monster franchise with Boa versus Python.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta get these two big snakes together.
Together at last.
I don't know anything about Boa.
Hey,
I don't know.
Predates Alien versus Predator, Freddy versus Jason.
Does it? I don't think it does.
I think so.
I gotta look up when Boa versus Python came out. But is there anything else we forgot to mention about Python?
Let me just run through.
Let me see here. When did the sequels come out? So Python 2 came out in 2002. Boa versus Python 2004. So it came out the year after Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
What was the other thing you mentioned? What was the other versus movie you mentioned? I don't know, but it's far
Freddy
from
versus Jason, Alien versus Predator.
Alien versus Predator. No, that came out. I don't know.
Fine, it predates Batman versus Superman.
It did.
All right.
That was the main thing that it was inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we didn't mention?
Let me just have a look here.
I'm kind of done.
I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
What the
Toilet flush, shower gag, snake yell, zipped penis. Oh yeah, Will Wheaton zips his penis into his pants.
Right, yeah, that's always fun to see. I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is when the snake is chasing BMX Johnny, his girlfriend, and he abandoned the truck, and they get away on their bikes, and hey, safety first, they don't forget to put their helmets on.
That is important.
Yeah.
That is important.
All
And
right.
they didn't crash. All right, so Jameson, now comes the part of the podcast where we ask the question, does Python have a certain something, or is it just a whole lot of nothing?
It has a certain something in so much that the characters that are meant to be comedic, I think, are genuinely funny. I think this movie is funnier than I expected it to be, and because of that, it saves it from just being a run-of-the-mill, cheapo, sci-fi original TV movie.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like, if it was 2000 and I had the Sci-Fi Network, and this came on after an episode of Babylon 5 or something, I'd be all like, well,
I don't need to watch this.
Remote's over there.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'll just see what's going on here. If I just kept watching Python, I'd end up pretty pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
There's some decent gags in this. I think with a little more finesse and a little more money behind it, this could be like a fun little camp classic. Because
Yeah.
no one's really taking themselves too seriously. There's some decent jokes. It's kind of like they need. In certain actors need to be cast like a little bit better, like cast like an actual actor instead of whoever played fucking BMX Johnny, and you get like some of like these,
or omit him
or just take him out.
Yeah.
He does make William
Zabka the hero.
William Zabka apparently is the hero of Python too, so you
Yeah.
might as well. You got an Oscar nominee right there, so like get him in there and everything like
he
that.
is
Yeah,
arguably a bigger name than what the fuck was that other guy's name?
it's not a name. It's one of those names you look at and I'm all like, that's not real. That's not a real name.
Right, yeah.
Long BMX. His name is BMX Johnny. His
yeah.
name is BMX Johnny.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not bad. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had fun with it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, there we go. So, we've done one Robert Englund.
Mhm.
Now the question remains: do we hold off until next year's Nothing Spookies
To do another.
to finish this trilogy, or I guess start doing like the second part of the Robert Englund trilogy, or should we try to look for the non-horror movies that he's in and complete the trilogy
Ooh.
throughout the rest of the year?
Like, we have one more Halloween movie to do.
Yes,
So,
and we know what that's going to be. We know it's not going to be another Robert Englund,
Right.
unless we want to add a fifth.
Oh, I don't think we got the time.
I don't know
to
if
do
we have
that.
time. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so
I
I
don't
think
know.
it'll have to be, let's
Sure.
say, if it happens to come that we find one that's like a horror movie that we absolutely want to do,
Right.
sure, we'll do it for
I feel
Halloween.
like what we're moving into in terms of this podcast is all like we'll do trilogies on actors. We don't necessarily need to do them all at the same time.
Yeah, we gave that a shot, and we had some good success with it, but we have so many...
Which isn't to say we don't necessarily have to do 3 movies back to back to back. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I'm
we
sure
can do that. If we
Yeah.
have enough material.
Yeah, if there's an actor that we just like absolutely want to talk about, and if we find guests that want to talk about them, sure, why the hell not?
Some trilogies make more sense to do it all together. Other trilogies you might as well split up.
Yes, of course. And, we have our theme episodes like WrestleMania and our Halloween stuff and our Christmas one. So that, unless we can find those actors, I think just there's naturally going to be a break. But I'm excited that we've at least got the ball rolling on Robert Englund.
Yep, and we got like the filmography out of the way, so we don't need to do that. We can just
find a fan.
We can just jump right back in.
Mm-hmm.
But great. So that was Python. I guess that's the end of this episode. That was Python.
Yeah, we're kind of ending on a very thoughtful note here.
Yeah.
a little shop talk.
Nothing wrong with that. I think this is a slightly more streamlined episode than we usually do, and I'm happy about that. But that was Python. It was directed by Richard Klabach. Written by
Praise him.
Philip Roth.
It
Yes.
sounds like an eldritch horror.
Klabach sleeps in the depths of the ocean. Oh my god. Just like a big old snake. If you like this episode, please listen to our other episodes, including the episodes that are under the name "The Fuck Is This." We have like a whole bunch of episodes. Listen to them. We'd like to thank Joel Flynn and Luke Schuss at Podstream Studios for letting us use their equipment. We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. I'm doing this off the top of my head, as you can see, because my eyes are closed. You can't see that, but Jameson can see that. This podcast is available on Spotify and YouTube. If you look on YouTube, there are a bunch of visual elements that Jameson adds that you can see.
And all of these will probably have the letter K.
They'll all have a K on it to remind you the best letter of the alphabet. And that's it. And then next episode we'll be wrapping up 2 months of Halloween.
Yeah, I can't believe we're at the end of.
It happened really fast. I mean, like right now, this is September. We're not even in October yet. This will we'll drop this episode in October, but we're not even there yet. Any Halloween plans, Jameson? Got a costume idea?
I got a costume idea. I gotta find an appropriate way to dye an article of clothing for it to match the article of clothing.
To find an appropriate way to end my life.
That's not at all what I. Oh, dye. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never dyed any kind of clothing before, so I'm so nervous about fucking it up because I do not want to go thrift store shopping again because it was a real find that I managed to find the articles that I did. So this is a complicated one. I hope it's worth it. If not, I'm probably just going to fall back to going as like Jack Burton again.
Right.
I'm getting a little too old to be putting out elaborate, Halloween costumes. If
I gotta find.
I'm not going to house parties anymore.
I went a little elaborate last year. I need to go a little more simple this year, but yeah, I need to think that through.
I still have my Jack Burton shirt. So.
Oh, there you go. It never goes out of style.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I guess that's the end of the episode. Just not a plug for myself, but it's absolutely worth mentioning. Past guest and friend of the podcast, Harrison Mooney's book, Invisible Boy, is now out. You can buy it.
Yeah.
It's going extremely well. It's selling like hotcakes. He won't stop talking about it. Nor should he.
Yeah.
Nor should he. This is his moment. We're both super happy for him. So please buy that book. As we mentioned on the last episode, Jameson, the movie you directed, is now out. You can watch it in full on YouTube. It's called The Truth is Afoot.
That's correct.
We still got that link in our show notes, so you can check that out. And I think that's basically it. So, for Nothing Spookies, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Jameson. And hey, are you going to close that deal? Are you going to close that deal? Are you going to close that deal?